Hello and welcome back once again, fans, friends, and everybody flying first class. We are back to break down not just an event, but the biggest event of the FCL calendar. That's right, the year is wrapping up, and how could they go out only with a bang as we kick off Warfare? We've got double the matches, we've got all sorts of special guests coming in on the show, and of course, as always, we've got Keith here, we've got Chris here, we've got Ryan here. It's the entire Fab Four ready to break it down just for you. And most importantly, let me throw this one out there, fans and friends, everybody who's watching, we've got you here. You're making this show what it is by tuning on in, and hopefully we'll be able to give you everything you're looking for as we break down the news. We talk about all the matches with all the questions, all the answers, everything hit and missed. That's right. It's everything you could possibly need to know as we round down the year and go into our off season. Oh, that's too bad, but we will be back next season. However, for right now, let's just get into it and break down everything that happened at Warfare on this week in the FCL. All right. I love that music. I love that theme. Love to hear it every week as we tune in. And they say parting is such sweet sorrow, but it's bittersweet this week as we have some great matches to break down for you. And we've got our whole crew here. Let's say hello real quickly before we swing on into the news. Hello once again. And I'm going to be sad to see you go. CB, our super producer.
Yeah, it's the last one. I must apologise for covering your face with the overlay then. Sorry about that. But, there's no way of editing that one out. So, it's the last show of the season. But it was a good event. So I'm looking forward to breaking it all down with you guys.
Well, Chris, let me just say you improve every week. You're finally learning what people do and don't want to see on the show. Ryan Permison, he's in, he's out, but he's always hyped up for the big matches. We loved it when he can join us on the show. Ryan, how you doing?
Doing well, good sir. Good to be back here. I'm not going to be writing fences like our producer does every week. And also Chris, come on, man, get with it. But other than that, it's good to be back with you fine gentlemen. And yeah, there's so much to talk about, but yet so little time. Let's get into it.
And a man who's been doing overtime this week, Keith Kilduff, had to break down all kinds of matches, write down all kinds of questions, and probably watch the show 3 or 4 times. Keith, how many times did you watch Warfare?
So 5 at double speed and once at 1.5 speed. But listen, I'm not in my usual spot. That's what I am with group behind me. I'm in a different setting, but I'm here to channel my inner Elena Jordan, and let's really kick in the energy into this show this week.
Well, as I said already, fans, we do want to send out a special thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in every week. We hope that you're going to get a kick out of everything we've got for you. A couple surprises coming up down the pipe. But, of course, as always, we're not going to change everything up for you. We're going to kick it off by starting off with all the news that's fit to print in the FCL. Let's get right on into it. All right, guys, number 1 on our list. Let's break this down because I can't wait to hear your opinions on this one. This is a big piece of news for next season. We've got Brad Gilmore making some startling announcements as he says, not only will there be, that's right, a teams division in season 2 of the FCL. I know we're all looking forward to that, but who could make the first team up in the FCL? Will they cancel their retirement match and will it be late to the party? Will instead it be members of the Sinister Syndicate forming a duo to dash the hopes of their enemies? Or will it be what it was? It's Chris and Robert Adams after the tackle, after all of the drama in their matchup. These two are going to have to sit next to each other next season. And at the end of the stinger, well, maybe it looked like they were pretty happy about that. Let's get some opinions from our wonderful panel. Ryan, how about you?
Well, as Brad Pitt said in that Chanel No. 5 commercial, and Thanos once said too, inevitable. So this was inevitable. It was going to happen. There was going to be a teams division. There had to be a teams division to shake things up, to bring more energy and electricity, as if there wasn't already, to the FCL. So this is great news. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what other teams are going to be formed as they go into season 2 of the FCL.
Keith, we've got the Atoms together. Will they be able to work together? And is this a good pairing, or do you think they might step on each other's specialties?
I think the little smirk at the end of the scene tells us all that these two have been playing us like a fiddle for 30 weeks. And this was all part of their major plan. It's great that we get the announcement of teams, and kind of my brain straight away tries to kind of comes up with kind of scenarios and situations. Definitely, as we're going to talk about later on, there's a new member of the Sinister Syndicate. So any two of those three as a team is going to be exciting. Andres Gallego and Tom Chattelbash do a podcast together. You'd have to say that that's kind of lining up as a team. The European Invasion, maybe Furtado and Knight, there's 4 or 5 straight away. Plus all the competitors are going to join the league next year. So we're definitely going to get a fairly quick, dense team division, definitely, Andrew.
Absolutely. As an old school wrestling fan myself, I know that this is an adage that a lot of pro wrestling fans say. A company is at its best when their team's division is strong, because it means they're overflowing with talent. So I can't wait to see where everybody lines up with each other, maybe an unexpected team or two, maybe some new arrivals. And speaking of new arrivals, let's move right into our next piece of news as we talk about a big announcement. Could she be the first of many? Will she be the lone survivor from the Schmoedown to come to the FCL next season? All we know for sure is competitor from the Den, Peggy Gubbins, has dropped on into the FCL. She's let her promo go, and she's telling all of us that next season she's coming to Wreck House. I cannot wait to see what a seasoned Schmoedown competitor can do in a setting like this. And Peggy Gubbins, obviously someone that a lot of people in the FCL are going to keep their eyes on. Do you think there's going to be a big impact from this? How about we go to you, Keith?
It's interesting because I obviously we knew from Christian saying that the MTS roster was going to shrink down by about a third, give or take. And Peggy was one of those that I felt was kind of on the bubble. I could see her staying in the kind of the 60, 62, or I could see her on the outside. She's on the outside. And it kind of makes you think, well, who else kind of in that kind of bubble scenario is there that potentially comes down with her? I'm thinking Christy V maybe, and that could potentially be a team. Obviously, they came into this season as part of the Fan League 4. So maybe that's another team to the previous segment that we had. But listen, if Peggy is a sign of players to come down, then everyone in the FCL needs to watch out, because this is going to get sharp, and this is going to get very, very dangerous very, very quickly.
All right. And Ryan, if you were to step into the mindset of a competitor in the FCL, what do you think you would be doing to prepare for your next season? Now that not only will you be coming back against the admittedly tough competition that exists in the FCL at this moment, but there's going to be a whole lot more people, most likely, coming down from the Schmoedown, people with experience facing off against some big names in movie trivia online. How do you prepare for that?
It's quite simple. Study, watch as many movies as you can, cram as many Blu-rays and Diva-Does into your collection if you're still a fan of physical media, such as myself. I mean, I know the survivor David Jandoyan is. By the way, he's tweeting out pictures of all his Blu-rays and Diva-Does he recently bought at the thrift store down the block. But as far as PG coming to FCL, I'm shocked. I really am. I did not know that the roster was going to be sliced by 1/3, so 33% of the competitors we see in the MTS now are going to be gone, retired, or moving to the FCL. I didn't know this, but when Peggy Gubbins showed, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then I tweeted at her, and I'm thinking, I'll see you in the ring, I guess, Peggy. No response. Maybe she's scared. Maybe she doesn't want to face me in the FCL. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting either way, because PG, you go from MTS to FCL. I'm curious, how is this going to go for you? I wish you the best of luck. Don't get me wrong, because you and I have been on many episodes of Fantasy Film Fights together on featured presentation productions with Tony. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. I'm very curious to see how she does within the FCL and as well as its other competitors. But yeah, just study. And guess what, Peggy? I'll be studying as well. I'll see you in the ring. And number 2, I'll see you soon. Yeah.
Well, certainly that is some good advice, Ryan, that you have to study for these people coming down. Peggy Gubbins, no slouch in the movie trivia department, as we know. And I'm going to get Chris's opinion, but real quick first, I just wanted to point out that David Jandoyan only shops at thrift stores because he can get his shirts half off. Chris, opinions on Peggy Gubbins?
It's fantastic. And I don't want to echo too much of what Keith and Ryan have already said, but along with the, obviously, teams division, and then these new competitors coming down from the MTS, it's just going to be an exciting second season in store for us by the looks of it within the FCL. So I'm just looking forward to it. It's great to see Peggy come down, and it'd be great to see her in matches next year.
Well, I think it's fantastic myself. Obviously, always a good idea to see some expansion, some new faces, and some new talent coming into the FCL next season. The only worry I have as a pundit is there are going to be a lot of people competing for a relatively small number of spaces. So will some of our old favorites have to fight to keep themselves in the spotlight? Well, That's the way it's going to be. And season 2 of the FCL should be a little bit more warfare, but that's the news. And we'll kick into actual warfare for this week as we talk about all of our matches. Fans, folks, if you love my tones and you think I'm rushing through this, remember, we've got 4 matches to get through. It's going to be a long show, and boy, do we have some great surprises in store for you. Unfortunately, first, to get that information into your brains and ours, we're going to have to turn it over to Keith Kilduff.
FCL Warfare kicked off with a Star Wars title fight between our current champion JC Reifenberg 2-0 taking on the number 1 contender Brennen Marr 2-0. Listen guys, Star Wars, as I've said all season, is not my thing. I cannot pronounce half these names properly, so I think we need to get someone in who does know this stuff inside and out. Elk, clear that throat. Bring on our guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, now joining us from the Schmoedown Star Wars division, he hails from nowhere. This is Ross. Welcome, Ross.
Great to be here, guys. This is going to be a fun conversation to talk about. It was quite the match to see. It was, I think, certainly maybe different from a lot of our expectations, but at the same time, met some of mine too, and exceeded others in different ways. So it'll be a lot of fun to talk about, from the question writing down to the performances and everything in between.
So listen, let's get into this. And I suppose, Ross, you know, when we were kind of previewing Warfare last year, and we spoke, or last week, and we were kind of talking about this match, it was a hard one to kind of call, a lot of us were saying, but what were your initial feelings on this matchup before a question was asked?
Well, I would have put good money on Brennen winning. I was pretty confident on that just based on the questions JC has missed in the past, and the people he's had to beat in the way that he's had to beat them. I just didn't feel that it was necessarily, I didn't feel there was going to be necessarily anything that JC would get that Brennen would miss. But in that same vein, I wasn't expecting there to be quite as many misses on JC's part. But then again, I also wasn't expecting to see, and this is not a dig at the questions, or the questions of the past, but I wasn't expecting to see so many awesome questions and so many great deep cuts that, as somebody who loves the deep cuts, was excited to see throughout the match. And so I think that is going to always play an impact. If you're not sure what the questions are going to be like, then it's making it harder to make your prediction. So my prediction of what the final score would have been totally wrong, but not of the winner. I was pretty confident Brennen was going to take this one. And it's nice to see him as the belt holder for now. And it'll be interesting to see what happens next year.
Well, listen, let's break down how he got there. Let's move into round 1 of this title fight. It ends 7-3 to Brennen. If we go down question by question in the Phantom Menace, name the governor of Naboo who advises Amidala that their comms disruption can only mean invasion. Sayo Bibli. Ross, again, apologies in advance for butchering everything and anything this season. I'm doing my best. Best.
I even gave you how to pronounce that ahead of time, and specifically it was C.O. Bibble then, and it's C.O. Bibble now.
I mean, the people love to hear me mispronounce things. So listen, let's continue that.
Hey, maybe you'll take Steph and Brad's job next year.
Now, Elk. Now. I know it's the end of the season, but let's behave. So listen, we would do question number 2 in Creatures and Aliens. How many films does Watto appear in? 2. And then this is where it all kinds of derails for JC. He misses the next 4 here in Return of the Jedi during the Battle of Endor. A Mon Calamari controller warns Akbar about enemy ships that are where. Sector 47 being the answer. JC using the repeat, his guess being far side of the moon. In Rise of Skywalker, who said, but there are more of us, Poe, there are more of us. Lando being the correct answer. He says, Zori. Question 5, in Vehicles, Weapons and Tech, what does AAT stand for? Armored Assault Tank. JC saying an all-terrain armored tank. That's incorrect. They both missed the Revenge of the Sith question. Who portrays Palpatine's Chief of Staff? Sly Moore. Sandy Finlay being the answer. Again, they both miss here. Brennan's perfect round is gone. Question 7, they both get it right in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan tells R4, scramble code 5 to Coruscant, care of what? The old folks home. And then in the final question, in small screen Star Wars, what Doctor Who actor voiced Bendu in the 3rd season of Rebels? Tom Baker. JC getting this incorrectly, Matt Sloan being his guess. 7-3, and if we look at the averages, JC's round 1 average was 7.5 coming into this, so he's down over 4 points, whereas Brennen was at 7, so he is consistent. And Andrew, I suppose, to a point you made on last week's show, you never ever want to be down on your average, but especially A, in a title fight, and B, when your opponent is staying at theirs.
Oh, no, absolutely. It is a devastating blow to you when you see specifically the averages falling in the way that you just described in round number 1. If I'm 2 points below my average and my opponent is at his average, and I know that his average is the same as mine, that means if all things play out evenly, nothing changes from the mean, which, as anyone who studies math will tell you, everything always returns to the mean. You do find that level eventually. Then you know that you're in a dangerous position. This means your opponent has to make big mistakes, not mistakes they would make normally. This means you have to play better than you normally do in round 2 and round 3 to potentially make it up. I got to say, if I was falling behind by 3 points playing in a title match against William Bibbiani, I would probably be pretty happy with my performance. But if I'm defending my title and I'm 3 points below my average against an opponent who's playing well, boy, oh boy, I've got a bad feeling about this.
And Ryan,
Star
I suppose, Ryan, when I think of Star Wars trivia, I always think of like the short marks, like the BB-8s of the world, R2-D2s. Surely JC should know what an AAT means. Like, is that a bad miss?
I mean, it's a bit of a tough miss, but it's not the worst, miss I think I may or may not have heard within the Star Wars division anyway. But no, it's, some of these questions are getting harder and harder. The division is starting to grow a little bit, and you got to be on your best game. And unfortunately, for round 1, it was a bit tough for JC to get fully into it because Brennan's just, I think, and I'll say this right now because during the entirety of this match, I don't think Brennen Marr ever broke a sweat. It was JC sitting in his Star Wars cave like Ross is. Ross, you got a nice looking cave too. But like he's sitting there and he's, man, living the dream with all the Star Warsian stuff around him, thinking, man, I think my credibility may be starting to go down a bit because, Brennan's got like 4 or 5 points on me. What the frack is going on? Sorry, that's not a Star Wars term, Ross, but trying to remain family friendly here. But you see what I'm saying? Yeah, it was a tough round 1.
Ross, do you have a view on the AAT miss?
Yeah, I was kind of curious. You mentioned like BB-8 and R2, and AAT is huge. It's a tank, and so it's a very it's not similar. It's a standout because he gets it confused with, I think he says he may say an all-terrain tactical enforcer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember what his answer.
All-terrain armor tank is what it was his wager.
Okay, and so he doesn't. He makes a guess just based on the fact that he doesn't know it, but it's the fact of the whole AT family is where his mind was, and it's precursing that. It's going back to Phantom Menace when we weren't quite doing that transition yet into the rest of kind of to see the AT family present out. And so I get where his mind got lost. And so there's a lot of A's that you can use there and to get mixed up. I think it was a question that, I expected them both to get it right, but I wasn't shocked to see one of them get it wrong. So it wasn't that bad of a miss in my opinion. There were I think a few more egregious misses than this one.
And that was actually what I was going to just bounce it back to you straight away. Was 2 of the JC's misses here. I think that they're kind of like quotes in terms of the Return of the Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker. But it's interesting also that they both missed the same question, the Revenge of the Sith actor.
Yeah, that one was one that I completely think was an MTS question. I can confidently say that I would not have known that at the start of this year. So that's just I know it now because of the depth that you can first and in this instance, Sandy Finley is not even that deep comparative to the way that they're going now, in my opinion. And I'm not saying it's not a deep question. She doesn't say anything. It's on paper fairly deep, and it's incredibly deep compared to what they would have asked in the past. And they never went a million years. People this season in the MTS got who voices Watto wrong, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's been wrong actually a couple times, not in the exact same way, but I think people guessed Andy Seacombe for somebody else, or it's been brought. Like, the point being is there's been some more. That is what I expected to see in the MTS. That is not what I expect to see in the FCL. And so when I saw that and I saw them both miss, I was not like Brennen knowing that because he felt that he would wanted to be studying ahead of time, then that can be like, if you wanted to be really strategic and know what even he maybe shouldn't know, could have gotten that. But preparing for everything that has happened beforehand, every question that has happened beforehand, that is way deeper than they have ever gone in any of the areas, in any of the type of questions, whether it's actors, the lore, location, nothing. That was probably the deepest question I think the FCL Star Wars division has ever asked, in the type of question that it was, especially in the sense that it was round one. And so I thought it was smart that none of them wasted a JTE, at least, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they didn't. And I suppose, listen, let's move into round two. Our wheel comes up, spinners and opponents and 10 slices. A New Hope, Jedi Order, The Last Jedi, Planets, Locations, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Rise of Skywalker, Rogue One, Quotes, and Small Screen Star Wars. Brennen decides to defer to JC, and he needs something here big time when he gets spinner's choice. Decides to take A New Hope and go 6 of 8 here. He knows that when C-3PO says that he needs to rest because his joints are almost frozen. It's this second question that he misses here. What cell block does Luke say Chewbacca is from as he tries to bluff his way past the Imperial Guard? He says AA-23, the correct answer being 1138. Brennen picking up the 2-point steal. And then he finishes his round going for 2 out of 2 here. Luke tells Owen he's going to Tashi Station to pick up what power converters, and where does Owen want Luke to take R2-D2 to have his memory erased? Yeah, Anchorhead. At this stage, it's 9-9, and Brennen still hasn't spun the wheel. On his first spin, gets Revenge of the Sith, decides to take it and goes 7 of 8 in this round. What original trilogy actor appears as Captain Colton. He goes down to multiple choice, gets Jeremy Bulloch, and then he goes 6 of 6 in the next 3. Who gives back Obi-Wan his lightsaber after battling with General Grievous? Commander Cody. Obi-Wan tells Anakin he only saved him 9 times as the time on what planet didn't count. Kato, pneumonia. And then in the opening scene, what is the name of the clone trooper? Obi-Wan says to form a squad behind Oddball. So it's 16-9. If we look at the averages of these guys coming into round 2, JC had a career average of 7 out of 8 with an average of 7 points. So he's down 1 on this. And Brennan's career is 7 out of 7, gone perfect. And he's been consistent again, hasn't missed a question. And I suppose, Ryan, we talk about, we make these points of putting up big points and needing to go perfect sometimes. But Brennen has just shown that by just being consistent and going at the same pace he's done all season is more than enough in the situation here.
Yeah, it is. When he takes Revenge of the Sith, which is, the prequels, they're not pleasant. Okay? They're not pleasant. But when you take that category and he just runs away with it for the most part, it's like, dang. Well, these prequels, I'm going to do some restudying on those, you know what I'm saying? But listen, JC taking New Hope, that was smart, great film. Still is to this day, by the way. So, by the way, for him to miss the 1138, dude, it's one of the biggest lines in the film. And even I would have known that, but I think he may have misunderstood the question. Maybe he wanted to use a JTE on that one, because if he had reheard the question, Andrew, you point this out all the time. Use your JTs when you need them. This would have been a great instance for it, because he was thinking of, well, it was what is it? We have an emergency alert, detention block AA-23. The princess, but all sections on that. See, that's probably what he was thinking, but no. Luke says, prisoner transmitted sub block 1138. I wasn't notified. I have to clear it. I mean, it's New Hope, man. I remember that like it were yesteryear. Even Ross, you know this, right? So it's like, man, what a bummer. But other than that, look, he put up some points. So did Brennen. So the momentum is starting to gain a little bit of traction here between both competitors.
And I suppose, Ross, like a question that I kind of want to ask is, obviously, as with my pronunciations, I will never ever be in the Star Wars division. I think that's fairly clear. But thank you, Andrew. I suppose the question I want to ask is getting spinner's choice in Star Wars, is it too powerful at the top level? Because you've so much to pick, and you should know everything to actually decide, I'm going to choose this category as my round 2.
Too powerful? It means almost nothing. In Star Wars, it means close to fucking nothing. I don't know if I'm supposed to swear. I hope you can beep that out after.
We can bleep it out.
Okay, sorry. You never know what you're going to get in Star Wars, and the fact that you need to have such preparation in all those key areas, I think. Yeah, there are some that you maybe will want to stay away from some days. You just don't feel like it. But for the most part, I'd say, especially in this case, none of the categories have been overly tapped. There are some in the MTS this season that I think are getting a little overtapped. I think there's a great example of A New Hope being a little overtapped, especially recently we saw that. And I think in this case, if we're talking about A New Hope questions, the max amount of points you can get is 8 in round 2. He should have got 9 with those questions. They were ridiculously, and that's not like that's not like a trying to go at them. I'm just saying like they were the big step down in the match. I thought that overall, like when we get to the speed round, another like set of phenomenal questions, great questions in round 1, and I think even Brennen's questions were really quite solid. I thought they were fair questions, and I thought that that's kind of what I was expecting to see. But I thought these were some softball ones, and so this was the opportunity to get the 8 points. And so when this didn't happen, it was okay. It's not going to happen today. And that's the thing. JC knows this answer. He 100% knows this answer, and this just showed that his head was not going to be in it that day. And that is absolutely a thing. There are some days, and that's where I guess spinners can sometimes play a role. If your head is having a mental block on a specific thing ahead of time, you're going to know that though. And so if you have spinners and then you pick the category that you have mental blockage on, that doesn't make sense. And so it just showed it wasn't his day more than he doesn't know the information, because that was such a clear one that he knew. So it was just a bad day for him. And you never want to see that.
I suppose, Andrew, the lead is extending all the time here for Brennen, and having been level with JC after JC spin, he has that safety of knowing he can just maneuver the round out, going down to multiple choice if needed, and still being in the lead.
I mean, we talk about a lot of things on this show. We talk about strategy, we talk about attitude, and there's one strategy that rarely ever do we bring up because it's a boring strategy if you really want to lay it out. And that strategy is be good, get good. And the answer to how that works is you study. I'm sure Ross could tell you about hours and hours and hours of rewatching movies, even ones in the franchise that maybe aren't his favorite. I'm sure he could tell you about reading all the wonderful Star Wars guys. I don't know. Do you own any Star Wars stuff, Ross? I'm not. Yes, I didn't see it there. So being good at the game like Brennen really kind of shows up that he is here, that is a great strategy, but it's kind of boring to play out because you don't know how it's happening. I'd like to talk about JC here. Yes, there are some questions that he probably should have gotten. Hell, I would have gone 6 for 8 in his second round, and I don't know crap about Star Wars. I really, really don't. I watched the Gold Box when I was a kid, and then I've seen each of the movies maybe one time since in the 30 years that have passed. I thought JC, at the very least, he may have been defeated. There may have been some answers he wasn't going to pull. Maybe, as Ross said, his head wasn't in it. But I thought his game was still in it. Even into round 2, I saw him taking time with his questions. I saw him thinking them through. Whether he got them or not, hey, like Ross said, sometimes it's not your day. But I was impressed with the way he was playing from behind. The problem, of course, is he's up against Brennen Marr in this matchup, which is very, very tough to overcome because Brennen is playing like crazy.
You make a great point, though, just on the studying there to add on. Someone with such a good base like JC, and that's the thing. I think the man's probably, I don't know how many times he's reviewed things, but I bet you he's not even done many reviews. And I think you could tell from the way his confidence decreases, but he knows such a base, great knowledge that just a few of those kind of reviews, and the man would be sensational. So if he's got a real hunger for it next year, I mean, I expect that he'll kill it.
So listen, let's move into the betting round, round 3. Our wheel comes back. It lands on Star Wars quotes. JC decides to bet 3. Brennen bets 2. The question being, which character in the sequel trilogy said the following line? Good guys, bad guys, made up words. DJ being the correct answer here. JC, unfortunately, not getting the same Benicio del Toro, the actor, of course. And we're at 18-6 after this round. Ross, yes, JC gets the question wrong, but I think it's the only move he's had to do. He's had to bet big and give himself a chance at least.
Oh, absolutely. And this is, I think, another one that it goes to show that he probably hasn't done those kind of base review things because he loves the movies, clearly, and there's no denying that. But his name is not in the movie. He doesn't really even have a name. The name DJ stands for Don't Join, which is what's written on his hat. He doesn't really have a name, but his name is DJ according to IMDb and all canon reference books. And so that's why he said Benicio del Toro. And so I think that's just another kind of example of he's got brute base knowledge. He knew what he was talking about here, but it's a very, very studyable answer. Of course, he's got to go full-fledged on this one, but that's a layup for someone like Brennen. That's a layup. And when in Star Wars, and bloody, it seems like every division now, you kind of got to bet big unless you're in a really safe spot. In which case, and did Brennen bet 2, if I'm not mistaken, or am I? Yeah. He did bet 2, and because he had the ability to, and that's an instance where maybe it was going to be a weird one, and it slipped his mind. So 2 was probably the right call to bet there, and 3 was definitely the right call for JC. It was just one of those ones that was also outside the purview for him that day.
So Brennen takes a 12-point lead into round 4 in this speed round. If we break this down question by question, the first one is, what is the name of the band that plays at Jabba's Palace? Max Rebo Band. They both get that correct. They both get the second one correct in The Rise of Skywalker, who voices D.O., J.J. Abrams. Question 3, how many portions does Rey get offered for BB-8? 60. JC passes. Brennen gets this. Question 4, what is the name of Hera Syndulla's son, Jason? They both get that correctly. Question 5, who portrays Enfys Nest in Solo? Erin Kellyman. JC pass on this. Brennen gets this correct. Question 6, how many films do we see the planet Mustafar? 3. They both get that correct. They also get the next question correct, knowing that Tom Kane is who voices Wolf Luraran in the Clone Wars. They both pass on question 8 here. Name one of the 2 actors who portrays Darth Vader in Rogue One. And then they both get question 9 correct, of who is the only actor to have appeared in all 12 films, Anthony Daniels. It's this last question here that's, the game is unfortunately up at this stage for JC, but the last question here, how many films does Lawrence Kasdan have a writing credit on? The correct answer being 4, JC saying 5. But ultimately, and your winner and new champion by a scoreline of 27-11, Brennen, Marr, and Ryan, consistent, showing a lot of Star Wars quality, hasn't missed a round 2 question all season in this division, and congratulations to him.
Wow, I was in the words of my good friend Wayne Campbell, I was not aware of that. But thank you for bringing that up, because that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, final score. It's not what I wanted to happen personally in this pay-per-view match. This is the big dance. This is where 20,000 plus people in that arena, non-existent arena, are watching you, and all the peeps on Twitch are watching. I'm like, man, big pay-per-view match didn't live up to any of the hype I had for it, at least in my opinion. But look, in the beginning of the match, I thought it was going to be 50-50. I thought either one of them could have walked away with the belt. Honestly, I was 50-50. I was kind of like Chris, right in defense. Could go anyway. So I would have been cool with that. But man, Brennen Marr doesn't break a sweat. JC's probably thinking, oh, I probably lost a good portion of my Star Wars credibility. But you know what? Look, I don't know what was going on with JC leading up to this match and what was going on during that match, but it just wasn't his day. Period. It wasn't his day. Bad day, real bad day at the office. Sorry, JC, but it's the truth. So he's got to go back and hit the books, hit the gym, lift some of these weights, get the 24-inch pythons growing again. Once he does that, look forward to seeing him come back and maybe make a run again to get the belt back from Brennen. Who knows? We could see a rematch somewhere down the line. Maybe not. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I don't know. But congrats to the new champion. I mean, clearly he earned it because he knows a thing or two, because he's seen a thing or two. So I'll give him that credit. I'll give him the credit. So, yeah, not the best way to kick off a pay-per-view, not the best way to kick off one of the first matches of the night in front of millions of people. But look, good days and bad. Simple as that. But, look forward to seeing how the Star Wars division grows and evolves within Season 2 of the FCL, because clearly there are some deep, dense cuts in that match, as Ross alluded to earlier. So, yeah. Good questions, but some of those I would not have gotten. By the way, the actress who plays Enfys Nest in Solo, is she the same girl who plays the antagonist in Falcon and Winter Soldier Season 1?
She is.
Man! Okay, Enfys Nest, not so good for you. But when you play the antagonist in Falcon and Winter Soldier, good stuff, girl. Wish you the best of luck with your actress career. But other than that, yeah, those are my 2 cents, Keith. What else you got?
I need to go to our guest here on screen again. I suppose, Ross, you were with us for the FCL 17 breakdown between JC and Sonny. And, this speed round felt a lot more difficult than that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This was back to what I like to see. I think this round, the first round, were great. I think the questions were just great. Just that's all you can say about them. You look at the ones that were passed on. There were some that were questions that would have been first round questions generally, or maybe second round questions earlier in the season, but were really appropriate speed round questions because of how many times that line about the 60 portions has been said. And the fact that it feels like it's that There are classic Star Wars trivia bits, like 1138. It's one of those everyone knows it forever classic Star Wars trivia things. I bet JC used to do Star Wars trivia many eons ago, and I bet you he used to get that question right all the time. This is an example that the 60 portions feels like the Force Awakens equivalent of classic Star Wars trivia that just for some reason pops out to you the first time you bloody watch the movie. And so I love to see the shift of those things going into speed rounds. And so as an overall, I thought that there maybe once again, JC's lack of kind of prep or even just IMDb review in a couple of cases maybe bit him in the butt a little bit here. But I thought the question writing was exceptional and for the way a speed round should be. And I'm also a big fan of fast money speed round the FCL does, and there's the shift back to buzzers in the MTS next year. I'm really glad that fast money exists, and the FCL I assume will continue to be doing that moving forward, because I really enjoy watching that 60 seconds and like how many are they going to be able to do. And as for being able to play along, that's way more fun than the buzzers. You can't play along with the buzzers, but you can play along with fast money in a great way if you can beat them to it. And so I thought this was a good round, and Brennen could also play safe, though. He didn't need to go and guess incorrectly, and he knew that too. And that was another bit of smart strategy when you've got a cool lead like he did, and he played cool-handed. Like you said, no broken sweat.
I suppose, Andrew, like if we look forward into season 2 now, that there's going to be a pack of Star Wars FCL contenders waiting in line. I'm sure a number more will enter the league next season. It's coming from different places. Brennen is going to still have a fight in his hands to keep this belt.
Brennen is definitely going to have some people looking to take that title off of him. But I got to say, he's been impressive the entire season. He's been consistent. He plays, as we know, in multiple divisions. He does fairly well in all of them. But Star Wars, I mean, he shone in this matchup. And sometimes the key really is just consistency. It's just knowing what you know, getting in there and making sure you're answering questions right and playing smart. And maybe it's made a little easier when your opponent falls behind as well. It's easier to do things. But there were little moments in this match that I thought stood out to me and showed that Brennen was still really thinking about the match, and never was he saying that this is over, that I have it in the bag, like betting 2 points when it was the betting round. That puts him in a position where even if his opponent bets 3, his opponent gets all of his points and he misses and loses his 2, he still has the lead by a single point. Do you think he didn't think about that? That's why he didn't bet 3, and I would stake my life on that one. On the other side, you have JC, who, as I already said, I saw him fall behind early in this match, and I watched him very closely for the whole match. I think he played well. I think he took his time. I don't think he really let himself get in his head. He knew he was missing answers, but he still took a shot when he could. He still tried to think his way through each of the questions. So we talked about preparation. Maybe he was underprepared. We talked about sometimes it's just not your day. Hey, that can happen. You have a brain fart. You forget something. And maybe that's what happened to JC here. But I like the way he played, and I do hope he wants to sit down, buckle down in the offseason, do a few more of those, as Ross said, very important IMDb cast reviews, because that's questions you know you're going to get. You have to go through, do it back and forth 3 or 4 times. But if he can put in just a little bit of work on top of his base knowledge, I think we could easily see a rematch at FCL Season 2.
And I suppose, Ross, to kind of finish out on a positive of JC, like he still needs to be commended. He is trying to fight his way back into this, trying to claw his way back in, and ultimately cracking a few Star Wars jokes as well while he's waiting for the final note count to come in.
He's got a great attitude, and that's the reason I think that we all collectively see this as it was a bad day and it was a lack of preparedness, but at the same time, the odds of you having the same bad day again your next match on top of you not coming in prepared, because I mean, if you're coming back for your next match, you're going to prepare hopefully a little bit more, especially after such a bad score in the end, a bad final score. You want to, I mean, if you're doing any form of competitive anything, you want to fare better than that. And so, like you guys said, he's got that kind of, like people used to talk about, the way everybody talks about Ethan Irwin. It was, if Irwin studied, he'd be unstoppable. I don't think that's the case here, where if JC studies in Star Wars, he'll become unstoppable. But I think if he studies, he definitely could be on par with Brennen. And I could see it being more of next time they play, maybe it is a coin flip. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be much different next year. I assume, like you said, there's going to be a lot more people in there. And so it'll be interesting to see, because I don't think there's going to be the same kind of matches like there were earlier in the season. There were some matches where a lot of questions were missed that really shouldn't have been missed. I don't think there was a ton of those in this match. I think there was a couple, but not too many. There were some that was just like JC came in. Oh, that I didn't necessarily prep on some stuff that maybe seems like some basic prep to all of us, but that's because we also are big fans of the Schmoedown and the way that just kind of executes in the prep that goes along with that. Whereas his general Star Wars trivia was back in the days where it was on Rosie O'Donnell, for example. And he relies on that brute knowledge, and that's okay. But for next year, he'll need a little bit of beefening of his arsenal if he wants to compete.
Well, I think Ross, I think it's fair to say that all the competitors out there in the FCL, whether in the Star Wars division or maybe otherwise, good luck. You're gonna need it.
Congratulations once again to our new Star Wars FCL champion, Brennen Marr. And Ross, thank you so much for your time coming on, breaking down the Star Wars match with us. I hope that I got at least maybe 70% of the pronunciations correct. Probably not. I will say 40. We'll go the other side. But thank you so much once again. And why don't you let everybody know where they can find you online and anything you're working on?
Oh, happy to be here. And once again, yes, congrats to Brennen for being the belt holder and an excellent one at that. And so, and also a great reaction too when he realized he won. That's nice as well. But no, I'm around. I don't tweet much, but I am in theory on Twitter at Ross from Nowhere. But I do my podcast with my brother. It's a Star Wars podcast, Recorder 66, where you can find most places that have podcasts. And other than that, in some capacity, you'll see me next year in the trivia world. So
keeping it open-ended. But listen, once again, congratulations to Brennen. Thank you once again, Ross. And we move on to match 2 of FCL Warfare, our number 1 contender match between Maxwell Haddad and Alex Marzoña. Match 2 of FCL Warfare, our number 1 singles contender fight between Maxwell Haddad and Alex Marzoña. And as we learned in the little scene before this match, Maxwell has a few new friends, that being James Shimo and the Flying Cow of the Sinister Syndicate. That's it. I know I do always get this wrong. But I think Elk and Ryan, I think it's fair to say, while it would be great to have Maxwell or Alex on, I think we've got someone here who has a little bit of experience, shall we say, in a number 1 contender fight, and also is a little bit of a sharp tongue coom. So, Al, go on, clear that throat. Bring on our guest.
All right. I would be thrilled to, Keith. Ladies and gentlemen, now introducing to This Week in the FCL. He is one half of Chaos Theory in the Schmoedown. He is the first. He is the undefeated FCL World Heavyweight Champion. You may know him as Slick Nick. He is Nick Harley.
That was a very fine introduction. Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm glad to be back. Glad to every single time. It's great chopping it up with you fellas. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's talk some FCL number 1 contender match.
Something you're familiar with.
Yes. Yeah. I squeaked out of that one unscathed. So yeah, I'm happy to revisit it from the other side.
I suppose, Nick, that's exactly where I wanted to kick this off. You have obviously previous in number 1 contenders, and that brings its own pressure with it. But do you think the fact that maybe because this was at the big end of season dance, do you think that amplified this match and added a little bit more pressure to Alex and Maxwell?
Absolutely. I think knowing that this is your last chance to show your stuff in the inaugural FCL season before a couple of sharks come down to the pond, or I think had to weigh in on people's nerves going into the match. And I think that if I were them, having to sit with either a defeat, if that were to happen for an entire off season, would certainly have me on edge and really making sure that I came into the match prepared and ready to do my best, because I don't want to sit for a couple months going over the questions that I missed and replaying scenarios where I could have maybe got out ahead. So yeah, I definitely think having the number 1 contenders match this late in the season definitely amplified the intensity of the match.
So listen, let's get into round one of this. It ends 7-6 to Alex. So we go question by question. In horror, what 2000s horror film features Christopher Eccleston, Naomi Watts, and Cillian Murphy? 28 Days Later. They both get the 90s question of this 92 film with Whoopi Goldberg as a lounge singer who joins a convent sister act. They both then miss question 3 here in famous actors and actresses. The actress in Blade Runner, 2049, The Martian, and The Turning. There's a repeat use on the table, Mackenzie Davis being the answer there. They both get question 4 and 5 correctly, knowing that David Lynch directed the 84 adaptation of Dune, and they also know that Adam Sandler is the character that Jack Nicholson elects to live with in 2003's Anger Management. It's question 6 here that's the big, I think, turning point of this whole round. In action adventure, what 2010's Antoine Fuqua directed film features Denzel Washington, Bill Pullman, Melissa Leo, and Pedro Pascal? The Equalizer 2, the sequel, Maxwell seeing the first one, the original Equalizer. And then they both get coming of age correct, knowing that the 93 drama with Leo, Johnny Depp, and Juliette Lewis is What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And they know in directors what action trilogy has entries directed by Martin Brest, Tony Scott, and John Landis, Beverly Hills Cop. If we look at the averages, Maxwell's round one average coming into this was 7, and he's down 1, whereas Marzoña's was 6, and he's up 1. And Ryan, averages are swapped here. Alex is in the driving seat, but it's that question 6 that's just a little cute question to trick both of them out of this, and that's ultimately what's the gap here.
Yeah, it is. Anything can happen. Depends on the question. Depends on the category. Sometimes you know it. Sometimes you don't. So it was a very interesting round one throughout the course of this matchup, I should say.
And Nick, I know when you were on with us last, you spoke about how questions are kind of written, and this kind of question, it really is there to trick the competitors, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Both the Equalizer films came out in the 2010s, so it wasn't one of those where you can pay attention to the release date. Thinking like, maybe the first Equalizer, if it would have came out in like 2009, you could eliminate that one and be able to focus on the second. So it was a little bit trickier than normal, because usually that's the indicator, right? When it's between two sequels, it's usually the release date that will help you out. Not the case this time around. So you really have to know that Pedro Pascal is in the Equalizer sequel, and not in the first film. And yeah, unfortunately, it could slip you up very easily. And Antoine Fuqua and Denzel have made a couple of films together. I think they made 3 films in the 2010s. So you're able to narrow it down to those 3. And I think Maxwell just, it's 15 seconds is a short amount of time. So was a repeat used on this question by chance?
It wasn't. No.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
So, I mean, I can understand when it's so tight, not wanting to go to your repeats. Like we've talked about this before, sometimes you have the tendency to feel like you want to save them for later. But yeah, this was a tough one, and unfortunately, it just didn't go Maxwell's way this time.
And I suppose, Elk, you called our Marzoña a silent assassin when we had Nick on last in our FCL 26 recap. But to me, he visibly looked a lot more confident on screen this time, in my view.
I mean, Alex Marzoña came into this matchup looking like he was ready to win. And I've got to say kudos to both competitors for that, because Alex Marzoña, he's got all this going on in the matchup, and he comes in with a big smile on his face and ready to fight. He knows his stuff, and he's not going to be shy about letting you know exactly what he's going to do to you in the ring. And Maxwell Haddad, Maxwell, my old friend. It's been so long. I've been berating you for months now. Every single time I talk about you on screen, I say, I'm so sick and tired of you being so nice. So Keith, you buried the lead. What happened before the match even begins? Maxwell Haddad finally embracing his dark destiny and joining the sinister syndicate. Max, you may have missed a repeat in round 1. And Nick, stop stealing my lines, man. You may have done that, but you know what? You came in with the heart of a lion with blood on your jaws, and I cannot wait to see the direction this is going to take you. You're down a point off your average. Alex is up. I don't think there's a lot to be indicated by a single point swing. It happens to everybody here and there. But I will say, I am looking forward to this, because as you said, Alex Marzoña looking like the cock of the walk, and Maxwell Haddad coming in with something to prove, with a real mean streak ready to boil up from inside. And I want to see both of these guys go at it. That's exactly what we're getting with round 1. I love it so far.
Let's move into round 2. Our wheel comes up, and I suppose if we look at these guys' average, Maxwell came into this with a round 2 career of 12 of 16 and an average of 6. Marzoña came into this with a round 2 career of 9 out of 12 with an average of about 5.5. Something completely different happens in this one in the sense that they both hold through this season. This is the first time they've done this. This is the first time that they haven't given up a steal. If we look at Maxwell's spin on his first one, he gets Francis McDormand, decides he doesn't want to keep it and goes with Eddie Murphy on a second spin and goes 7 of 8. He goes down to multiple choice in the first question, who plays Akeem's father in the Coming to America films, James Earl Jones, and then goes 6 of 6, knowing that Dan Aykroyd is in 83's Trading Places, knows that Harlem Nights is the movie that Eddie Murphy has directed in his career, and knows that The Haunted Mansion is the O3 horror comedy that Eddie Murphy is in alongside Terrence Stamp. On Marzoña's spin on the first one, gets movie release dates as part of a wheel that includes comedies, 2010s, Chris Nolan, musicians in film, which you would have to say is his strength, Francis McDormand, rom-coms, Eddie Murphy, as I said, John Candy, and Martin Scorsese. And this time he goes 8 of 8. He knows that Shia LaBeouf was in 2 films in 2008, the Indiana Jones sequel, and What Else? Eagle Eye. He knows that 1978 is the year of the release of Star Trek The Motion Picture, Alien and Moonraker. He knows that Deathly Hallows Part... Sorry, 79. My apologies, Nick. I'll have it here written in front of me. How am I not getting it correctly?
Movie trivia.
I keep it, you know.
And then last 2 questions here. He knows that Deathly Hallows Part 1 is released in 2010. And I think it's this last question. What year in the 2010s did not feature a release of a Pixar film, uses a repeat, goes through the years and comes up with 2014, gets it correct? And I suppose, Andrew, you know, we said on the Warfare preview last week, and it was a point that I really made here, that round 2 was going to be the making and breaking of these two. But both of them have stepped up and they didn't give away an inch in this match.
Absolutely not. Round 2, the fire is on. If I said I was excited after round number 1, this is the one that really got me pumped up to see how this is all going to work out, as round 2 should do. First, you've got Alex Marzoña, who absolutely just start calling him the boss as well, because he Bateman that movie release day category. Everybody hates that category except apparently a few people. And now we know Marzoña can definitely be counted among them. I don't think he's getting that on Opponent's Choice anytime soon. And Maxwell, he plays well. He gets a category he likes. He does a good job with it. I'm a little disappointed, I must admit, in the miss on James Earl Jones in Coming to America. If there's one famous father in that movie, and frankly, there's 2, but if there was one, it would be James Earl Jones. And I don't think that's a huge reach of a question. That being said, we all have our blind spots. Could have been a miss. And I think they're both playing pretty much spot on to where they need to be. They're using their time. Maybe I could see a little more work on the repeats, as you mentioned already, from Maxwell. There might have been a question he could have scraped out. And with a match that's so tight, that may be important. But all in all, an incredibly played round. This is a worthy number 1 contenders match. And I don't mean to throw shade at a later match in the show, but we know we're going to end up with a title match that is likely to be lopsided. So I think these two, what they're really doing is they're stepping up and they're saying, oh, we're not the main event. Well, let's prove you wrong.
And I suppose, Ryan, the point that kind of comes to mind going through these guys' career during the season is, and to Maxwell's credit, he isn't a competitor that you look at a wheel and you go, that's his category, that's what he's put on. He really is well-rounded, and he's so dangerous in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in his case, it's fair to say, like the GOAT said, Mike Kalinowski, I don't have any weaknesses. I have varying degrees of strengths. So he can pull that, you know, there you go. Checks in the mail. But still, yeah, interesting round, good questions, good rounds. And man, I mean, Marzoña was it with movie release dates. I mean, where's Scott Mantz on the announcing booth when you need him? Because we really could have used him. Scott Mantz, you know, because he loves those movie release dates. So please, can we get the Mantz man back in some way, shape, or form, whether it's in the MTS or the FCL? I want to see him on the desk with Brad or Steve and Scott Mantz, and let, you know, Brad take a week off or something, because, you know, whatever. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? Like, we need the Mantz man back. Can we get him back? Seriously, we need him back. But other than that, solid round, solid questions, solid categories. You know, what more can anyone ask?
Agreed, Ryan. And I suppose, Nick, on Alex's side, like, with the balls to A, take movie release dates without hesitation, and B, that Pixar pull in question 4 is extremely impressive, using his time, using all his kind of tools of the repeats to get to where he needed. And that's what's the difference coming into round 3 here.
Yeah, absolutely. As a fan, I absolutely love seeing people take movie release dates, because to me, that's, you know, as you guys have alluded to, most people don't like it. So when you see someone take it on the first spin and seem really confident in it, it's always really exciting, especially because I feel like movie release dates, you don't see as many checkdowns, essentially because you're just looking at years on a list, and at worst you're going to eliminate, you know, one of the options, and you're going to help your competitor maybe get closer to the steal. So you see a lot of people just firing from the hip on movie release dates, and Marzoña was just bullseye every time he shot. As you alluded to, that Pixar pool, very impressive. The fact that he used his JTE and got there, I mean, that's what you want to see. I think that this round 2 was absolutely, you know, lightning in a bottle. It was really exciting. Probably the best round of the entire event. I think that Maxwell, no slouch, did really well in the Eddie Murphy category. You could tell when he checked down a multiple choice on the James Earl Jones question that James Earl Jones was choice A, and you could tell that he knew it immediately after it was read. And that just shows that's like one of those other things that's like, use those JTEs. If you have them, use them, because he definitely could have gotten there. But other than that, yeah, these guys are not pulling punches. They're throwing haymakers. And that Pixar question was a hell of a haymaker. So yeah, round 2 was electric.
So listen, let's wrap this up in round 3. It's all on Maxwell on his 2 in Pixar. What Pixar film features Tom Holland and Chris Pratt as brothers? Onward. On to Alex on his 2 in 70s. This classic film about a group of friends who fall victim to a family of cannibals while on their way to visit an old homestead was released in 1974. He says The Hills Have Eyes, the correct answer being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's all on Maxwell here on his 3 in Tom Cruise in 2004's Collateral, who plays undercover narcotics detective Ray Fanning. He uses a repeat, comes out with a Javier Bardem, the correct answer being Mark Ruffalo. We're back to Alex on his 3 in Charlize Theron. She featured alongside which a Lord of the Rings alum in the movie The Road, Viggo Mortensen. It's all on Maxwell on the 5 in Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford voices a dog named Rooster in this 2019 animated film. Doesn't wager a guess, and your winner by way of winning 18-15. The correct answer being The Secret Life of Pets 2. And Andrew, Alex gives Maxwell the opening by missing the 2 point. He couldn't take advantage, and we have a new number 1 contender in the singles division.
Well, there's a lot to talk about with this round. There's a couple points that I absolutely want to go over here. And I just want to double check with you, Keith. I know you rewatched it. I know you wrote it down exactly. What was the wording on the Collateral question for me?
It was something along the lines of, in 2004's Collateral, who plays undercover narcotics detective Ray Fanning, whose partner is Cruise's first victim, I believe is the full title.
Okay, if it's his partner, because I had heard, I don't know if I heard it incorrectly when I was listening through. I know some other people in the chat at the time, because I did see them mention that they thought that it said it was the first person killed. Looks like no in that case, so there's no challenge here, no worries about that one. I mean, it's a round 3. When you get to round 3, and Nick, you can attest to this. You've been in matches in very high pressure situation. Once you get to round 3, there's not any strategy outside of, do I need to repeat and buy myself a little more time? Otherwise, it's shut everything out, close down. And like Kaiser says to his competitors in the Schmoedown, every question is a new question. You always have 0 points. Play the question as it's given to you. I think both of them are doing a great job with that here. And after the clinic, they've been putting on this great match, one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion. Absolutely. Maxwell and Alex are not going to stop in round number 3. And this is where I get a little bit nitpicky. I get a little bit mean with you, Maxwell, because I love the new attitude. I love it. I've always said go for blood. You have to try to answer your 5-point question, even if you don't know. We have seen people in the Schmoedown answer a question at a 5-point level and then be absolutely shocked when they are correct. Take your best educated guess. Never give it up to your opponent. That being said, I don't entirely blame him for congratulating Alex, because it was an incredibly played match. And Alex Marzoña, he's a real sweetie pie, so he's not my favorite person. You know that. But I will say one thing. He certainly knows his stuff. And if you ask me, does he deserve that number 1 contendership? I'll say, hell yes, he does. And I cannot wait to see it next season when he takes on the winner of our title match.
And I suppose, Ryan, you know, it's a tough end to the season here for Maxwell. He will be back next season, bigger, stronger, better than ever. And now he's got the Syndicate behind him. And it has to be said, with a team's division incoming, any makeup of him, Shimo, and the Flying Cow is going to be dangerous in that division.
Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, it could be very dangerous, very crazy. Dogs and cats living together with mass hysteria. So that could be something that we could be looking forward to within season 2 of the FCL. But either way, they're still going to lose because European invasion for life. But look forward to seeing what happens. That was a good match, and those some good questions, man. By the way, bringing up Collateral. Woo! Great film. Doesn't get a whole lot of credit that it's so rightfully deserved, but that's a darn good
Groundbreaking film. First fully digital movie over a
yeah,
certain budget.
Yeah, treat yourself, people. If you haven't seen 2004's Collateral and you want to see Tom Cruise, be evil, watch Collateral. Treat yourself. It's a good film. Darn good looking movie, too. The cinematography. LA at night. Whoo! Nelly. That's some good cinematography right there, if I do say so myself. But yeah, good match, good tune, good brews, good buddies. And look forward to seeing what both of these competitors are going to do within season 2.
And I suppose, Nick, to kind of finish this out, when you were on last with us breaking down FCL 26, when both of these guys played, you felt that Marzoña was kind of on the bubble, on the outside looking in. But this kid has just blasted himself into the title picture and is now a big, big threat to anyone in this league.
Yeah, I think last time I had said that Marzoña is somebody that continues to look more impressive every single time that he plays. He seems to add a little bit to his game. And I saw that here again, like we alluded to, like very calm, very collected, seems really unflappable when it comes to the trivia. And yeah, so with the number 1 contender win and, the confidence that he's already displayed, I think he heads into this next season really poised well to give Fishburn a run for his money. That being said, I do find it interesting. One point that we didn't bring up, he crushes movie release dates in round 2, but then in the very next round, he gets what is essentially a movie release dates question. Because if you know that Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released in 74 and that The Hills Have Eyes came a little bit later, then you work yourself to that question, because it's really, I think everybody watching kind of was in their head saying it's one of those two. Maybe you don't know based on the movie release date. So it's a very interesting miss there. And also, Maxwell, I think definitely has, I don't want to say a gripe because I love PLD. I love all the question writers for the FCL, but it's definitely sort of a confusingly worded question. I think that if he maybe would have taken the swing with the challenge, it might have gone his way. I definitely could see that. That being said, like Andrew said, 5-point question, no blank boards ever. Like, even I know that kind of refers to the first round, but that is the ethos throughout the entire match. No blank boards. Always throw a guess at the wall. Any animated movie from the last 5 years, maybe you could have pulled it. I don't know. But yeah, I think that both of these two are incredible competitors. I think Maxwell with the Sinister Syndicate is something that I cannot wait to watch. I think that's going to lead to a lot of great story. I think a combination of him and Chimo, or him, in my heart, I want to see Maxwell and the Flying Cow, because I'm signing up to watch that show weekly if that's a sitcom. So I think both of these guys are absolutely the cream of the crop of the current FCL class, and I think that they're going to mix really well with some of the other competitors that we're going to see popping up in the FCL next season.
So congratulations to Alex Marzoña, our new number 1 contender, who will take on the winner of our title match. We'll break down a little bit later on. And commiserations to Maxwell Haddad, but he's got Chimo and the Cow in his corner coming into season 2. And we move on to the third match of FCL Warfare, this double retirement, late to the party, civil war / domestic dispute, as I like to call it, last week. And I suppose, Ryan, listen, you've a fondness for these two. Oh. Please wax lyrical about these two when you heard that they were both retiring.
Look, it bums me out because I'm thinking to myself, you've been in the FCL for 15 minutes and already you want to take your chips and you want to walk away. This is Vegas, baby. You got to play for the jackpots, play for the money, play for the title belt. I want to see you go for the singles belt. I want to see Vanessa and Robert with the teams division next season. I want to see them win a teams belt. I want to see it happen because it never happened in the MTS. The biggest thing that happened to the two of them within the MTS is that huge, one of the biggest upsets in sports and entertainment history against William the Beast Bibiani and Ellis from Die Hard, Whitney Seibel. Like, I want to see more of that. I want to see more upsets, baby. But unfortunately, So I'm going to have to take all those hopes and dreams and wishes, and throw them into the fountain of water because they're not going to happen. But I will say this. 2 of the nicest, 2 of the coolest, most respectful and funniest people in the history of this planet are Robert and Vanessa. So bless their hearts, because their promos respectively leading into this match, hilarious. Could not get a, hey, Nick Harley, you're talking about sitcoms. Put them in a sitcom because they're going to win multiple Emmys, guaranteed, son. But yeah, this is a great match, and I cannot wait to talk about, Keith. Can you not tell already?
I know. I could tell the uplifting energy from you completely. But listen,
Yes.
I suppose, Nick, in an alternative universe, it could have been you versus Vanessa at FCL 12 for the title. So while it's sad to see them both go, they have added so much to the league this year already, even before this match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of them added a lot of integrity to the league right away because they were personalities that people were familiar with from the movie Trivia Schmoedown, and we probably got some more eyeballs on the product because of their participation. So really, I think that their involvement legitimized the FCL from the get-go. And look, like Ryan said, the promos are fantastic. Robert's always flexing the movie trivia knowledge that he knows. He's gonna let you know like that not only does he know the answer to the question, but he's got like 5 quotes from the film that he can rattle off so quickly. Yeah, they're just incredibly fun to watch and great personalities and really pop on screen. So it's gonna be, I'm sad to see them go. Yeah, there definitely is an alternative universe where I play Vanessa, and who knows how that goes. And Robert alluded to it, I think on backstage last week, and in his promo that certain members of the FCL ran up to the Schmoedown and that he didn't have the chance to play us. And Robert was definitely somebody that I had my eye on from the very first match. That I was like, this is the guy that you have to beat if you're going to be taken seriously in this league. So I've always had a lot of respect for both of them, and they retired, but hey, Jordan retired twice, so who knows?
Maybe we can break out the checkbook here on This Week in the FCL and see if we can get a Harley versus Montano singles match of some description.
This better not come out of my pay.
Yeah, man. Take that dump truck full of money, pull it up to their houses, respectively, and dump all that cash on the front lawn because I want to see that match.
Well, I mean, CB's not here. He owns the checkbook, so he can decide what happens.
Write him a check, Chris. We know you're sitting back there monitoring us. Write him a check.
So listen, let's get into round 1. This very, very fun match. It ends 7-5 to Robert. They both got 2 for 2 in the first one. Famous actor and actresses. What actor appeared in Inglourious Basterds, Wayne World, and Bohemian Rhapsody, Mike Myers. They also know that Three Amigos is the 86 film featuring characters of Harry Flibberman, Lucky Day, and Dusty Bottoms. They both missed question 3 here in directors. This 2015 comedy with Bill Murray, Kate Hudson, and Zooey Deschanel is the most recent, directed by Barry Levinstein. Rock the Casbah being the correct answer. There is a repeat use. Vanessa can only get to Casbah. There's no answer given by Montano. They both go 2 for 2 then in fantasy sci-fi, knowing that Dennis Quaid is in 1985's Enemy Mine, and they know that The Wedding Singer is the movie with John Lovitz, Christine Taylor, Steve Buscemi, and Billy Idol. Vanessa misses the next 2 in franchises, not knowing that the characters of Hightower, Tackleberry, Zed, and Proctor are in Police Academy, and not knowing the subtitle to the 87 sequel of Revenge of the Nerds in Paradise. And then they both finish round 1 in horror, both getting it correct. What entry in the Halloween franchise features a performance by Paul Rudd, Kirsten Michael Myers, the 6th one. 7-5. And Andrew, coming into this, Robert had a round 1 league average of 8. Vanessa had a round 1 league average of 8. No perfect rounds, misses in round 1s. What the hell is this?
Well, I'm just sad to see late to the party going. If I can wax poetic for 2 seconds, if you're an old school Schmoedown fan, you were watching along with Robert and Vanessa playing the matches. Hell, I'm pretty sure I played more matches against them than I did in the trivia league that I actually worked for. You know, I know that Robert and Vanessa are huge characters. They're an important part of the history. And sometimes there's something about a competitor. It's not about how good they are in the ring. It's something ephemeral. It's an entertainment. It's a joy that exists in them. And if there's one thing that these two players are, it's joyful, especially here. And Robert and Vanessa, thank you so much for making my job easy, making it a retirement match where you were both going to retire either way. That means the strategy doesn't matter, so I don't have to talk about it. Just have some fun, have a good match, and thank you for everything that you've done coming on in here. It's going to be sad to see you go, but we'll look into that dump truck of money. Maybe we'll get an exhibition match in the Schmoedown against Nick Harley for you, Robert, since he ran away from you. I'm calling it now. Go ahead. They could book that for you. That'd be a good one to watch. And I love to see how much fun Vanessa and Robert are absolutely having with each other. They're teasing and poking and referencing, and this match to me is like the living embodiment of just messing around with your friends around a kitchen table, throwing around movie trivia to see who knows the most, because you're all film nerds. And I'm sure nobody here on this call has any experience with any of that. But round one, good round. If you want me to throw out something about the actual round, I'll say I'm a bit surprised that Vanessa didn't just pick up Revenge of the Nerds and Police Academy answers from osmosis, because it seems like that's exactly where Robert was born. Like if there were a petri dish that he was grown out of, it would have started with Police Academy and Revenge of the Nerds, right?
Fair comments, Andrew. I think, listen, let's move into round two. Our wheel comes up. Disney spoof movies was on the wheel for the first time this season. M. Night Shyamalan, Matt and Ben, 80s, holiday films. Catherine Bigelow, Will Smith, animated and coming of age. Robert the First, Vanessa on first spin gets Matt and Ben, and decides, like she's done all season, wants the wheel to decide her fate and gets holiday films. The category that killed her against Kofi, and goes 6 of 8 in this. Knows that Last Christmas is the 2019 Paul Feig rom-com starring Amelia Clarke. Knows that Black Christmas is the 1974 holiday slasher film, which was remade in 2006. Knows that Phil Hartman is Ted Malton in 96's Jingle All the Way. And then it's this fourth question that they slip up on, who provides the voice for Bob Cratchit in 2009, Robert Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol. She says Jim Carrey, 2-point steal on the table. Robert doesn't know, says Tobey Maguire, the correct answer being Gary Oldman. We come back onto Robert. His first spin is 80s, decides to take it, and he goes 5 of 8 in this round, gives up a steal, knows that there's 2 Ghostbuster films released in the 80s, was down to multiple choice on this 87 romantic dramedy about a new producer. It's written and directed by James L. Brooke, starring William Hurt, Albert Brooks, and Holly Hunter. Broadcast news being the correct answer. It's this third question where the match kind of changes a little bit here. This 84 biographical drama, which won 8 Oscars, including Best Picture, Actor, and Director, goes down to multiple choice. He says Silkwood, that's incorrect. Amadeus being the correct answer. Vanessa picks up the steal. And then the final question, we had to get a Back to the Future one in this whole event. It had to be the case at the end of Back to the Future Part 2. How does Doc tell Marty he's still alive back in 1885? He sent a letter via Western Union. It's 12-12, and listen, we look at averages again. Robert came into this 11-12 with an average of 7.3, so he's down. Vanessa in round 2, 10-12 for an average about 6.3, down also. But Ryan, going back to the whole fun element of this match, you must have loved Robert's life stories, explaining questions and films as he's going on.
Oh, my Lord of mercy. He's got stories for days. I wish that Robert and I had grown up in the same neighborhood, because he and I would have been the best of friends, because I don't know if I can remember every single story of every single movie I saw in theaters and tell you, oh, it was a nice cloudy day and we saw this movie at 8 o'clock and it was sold out, so we had to go to the 10th. I don't know if I could pull those out of my you-know-what, but, dude, movie quoting, come on, baby. I could go on that for days on end. It was hilarious. He was like, come on, girl, you know this. Come on. Use your JTE. Just use it. It's like, it's Kismet. It's great. I love it. The chemistry's great. There's no wonder these two are lovebirds, and they have been for years. I love it. I love it to pieces. I'm going to miss seeing these two bright, shiny lights in the arena with 20,000 people watching them, as well as you people on Twitch. So, it was great. I loved it. Great questions, too. I'm not going to lie. The holiday films, pretty good. I think I would have gotten them all. The 80s questions, like Hightower, come on, man. Come on. Would have been able to pull that. And then the Back to the Future, I would have said he sent him a letter. I wouldn't have thrown in the Western Union part, but the fact that Robert, just threw that in is like, yeah, he sent him a letter. It's fine. Western Union. And it's like, Robert, you're the man. You're the man. You both are. You're both great people. We love you. So, yeah, great round 2. Great questions. I had a smile on my face from beginning to end. When the promos were cut to the end of this match, I was just beaming. It's basically Christmas had come early for me, Keith. That's what it felt like.
And I suppose, Andrew, kind of the same point I made about Maxwell in the previous match. Looking at the wheel, again, it's very hard to pinpoint what Robert's slice is, and that's what's made him dangerous all season. That and, his exceptional trivia game.
Well, I mean, I agree with you a little bit. Robert's a very strong competitor. We've seen him be strong in a lot of categories, but I don't know if I totally agree with you here, Keith.
Okay.
I'm going to go out of my way, and I'm going to completely disagree with you on this one. I think if you were to look at Robert Montano, if you've seen a couple of his matches, then you know for a fact that the slice that he got is exactly the slice that he wanted. Robert Montano in 80s movies, the only person who would like this slice more than him, in my opinion, is Drew McWeeny. And he wrote a book on the damn decade. Robert Montano has always clearly been the kind of person, and I'm saying this as a person who I think is relatively close to him in age. I think we grew up kind of watching the same things, having some of the same influences. But the thing is, thank you, Ryan. The thing is, Robert Montano and 80s is definitely a fit. I love that Vanessa went for the wheel. But as I said before, this is, again, it's a match where the strategy really doesn't matter. They're having a good time. They're messing around with each other. As long as they keep their energy high and have fun in this, I think that there's no way that this match wasn't going to be something special, because the two people involved in it are something special. These are people with an effortless charm about them. Vanessa and Robert, tell me you didn't watch one video involving them in the Schmoedown or on their channel or anywhere else and say, I want to hang out and have a beer with these people. That's not something that everybody can put across. It's truly going to be a loss when they leave the league, but it's a gift that we got to have them in a wonderful match like this and all the wonderful matches that they've been in so far. It's a gift that you kind of don't want. So I think it's best summed up by a quote from my good friend Wayne Campbell: a gun rack. I don't own a gun, let alone many guns, to necessitate the need for an entire rack.
Nick, listen, let's get back to the strategic element of this match a little bit. And I suppose from Vanessa's point of view, like, she gets her opening here to level up the match going into round 3. And I suppose, like, take away the characters for a second, but it just goes to show that, like, the subtle moves in matches, a steal here, a multiple choice there, even when you're in control, it just changes the course of everything.
Yeah, these matches are always, it doesn't matter if you're playing for fun or if you're in a number one contenders match. It's like one question can totally change the entire trajectory of a match. We like to put a lot of stock into the second round, and deservedly so, because those are where the steals are at and where you can really swing momentum. And yeah, I think Vanessa came into round 2. She meets that holiday film slice again, and she does pretty well with it. I don't like to publicly state when I know something or don't know something, but A Christmas Carol, Robert Zemeckis' A Christmas Carol, I'm not pulling that one either. So I don't have much to criticize on that front. As far as Robert goes, it's like, I really think not only did the match remind me of an old school Schmoedown match, just because the chemistry between the two people playing and, like, sort of the lightheartedness and just an emphasis on fun. It's not so competitive. But it also seems like the question writers really tried to meet late to the party on their level. We have so many 80s questions in round 1, and then Robert gets that 80s slice in round 2. Something that you would maybe think that he would absolutely crush, considering that, like Andrew said, we can see that he clearly enjoys these films. And then also just given the history of how Robert's performed in the FCL prior. But I think when the decision came down to maybe retire this season, it's because, they just, like, as they said, they've gotten really busy with their channel, and that's super awesome. Congratulations to them. That's fantastic. And I really hope the best of success in that as they move forward. But you have to imagine that they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit and maybe weren't studying as hard. And then in that sort of match, it's like, I'm not going to rack my brain trying to get there. It's, it's like when I play along in a watch along, I'm just going to throw out my first answer that pops into my head and not really give much care whether I'm using my JTEs or I'm really thinking through all the options. It's just like, we're out the door anyway, so let's just have fun. So
listen, let's wrap this up in round 3. Vanessa gets martial arts for a 2-pointer. Who stars opposite Michelle Yao in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? No answer given. Chow Yun Fat being the correct answer. Back on Robert on his 2 action adventure. Name one of the 2 actors who played brothers resisting the Soviet Union invasion in 1984's Red Dawn. Patrick Swayze being the answer. Could also have said Charlie Sheen. Back to Vanessa on her 3 and Keanu Reeves in 1997. Keanu and Charlize Theron play a couple who move from Manhattan to Florida when he gets a law firm job. The Devil's Advocate being the correct answer there. Back to Robert on his 3, Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford plays Jack Traynor in this 1988 Mike Nichols romantic dramedy Working Girl. All on Vanessa, all on the 5 in musicals. What sequel set in 1961 features songs like We'll Be Together, Score Tonight, and Charades? Grease 2 being the correct answer. Robert coaching her along, trying to get the answer out of her just to keep this match going. And for the first time this season, Robert has to hit a 5-pointer in his whole FCL career. Gets Ed Harris. In addition to A Beautiful Mind, Ed Harris features in 2 movies in 2001. Name both. He uses last 2 repeats and comes up with A History of Violence in Appaloosa. The correct answers being Enemy at the Gates and Buffalo Soldiers. And your winner, 20-17, Vanessa Fitzsimmons. And I suppose, Andrew, finally Montano has been taken out, and what a 5-pointer it was to give him that first L.
Incredibly difficult question. I don't know how many people get it. I could see that question being asked in the Schmoedown, and Nick can back this up. And well, of course you would, Nick. I thought you said you didn't like to speak publicly about what you do and don't know. Are you giving it away for them? What I'll say is it's interesting to see Robert kind of coaching and helping Vanessa along, but that just lends to the air that this match has about it. It's 2 friends playing movie trivia around a kitchen table. This is not serious for either one. They're not really worrying about it. And it provides to us, I think, a beautiful ending to the story of Late to the Party in the Schmoedown and in the FCL. If you were to look back on their history, I don't think it's unfair to say, I don't think I'm being insulting if I say Robert has always stood out, maybe just 1 or 2 points, but as the competitor who's a little bit stronger. He's carried them through a few tag team matches. Vanessa's absolutely done her part, put up her points, but he's done a little better there. In the FCL, he's the one who's managed to get through all the matches without a loss, while she had to take one to fall down. But then they've come into their final match, and everybody thinks, if you're really being honest with yourself, you're thinking in your heart, it's probably going to be Robert taking this. It's going to be Robert with the win. And what happens? Their friendship wins. He helps her through a question. He's happy to lose on a very difficult one for himself. And he gives his only loss in the FCL up to who? To Vanessa Fitzsimmons on the way out the door. I think that's a beautiful way to end this story, and hopefully it won't be the end of Late to the Party around the Schmoedown or the FCL. Hopefully we'll see them pop in from time to time and continue to just share with us that joy that I said they bring to everything. In the end, it's a great match. It's a great final for both of these competitors. They will be missed, but let's instead think to ourselves not to be sad that they are gone, but instead to be happy about all the wonderful times we had watching them compete and just be generally all around great people. Vanessa, Robert, thank you. We'll miss you.
I suppose, Nick, listen, all questions, gameplay, and strategy aside, if Robert and Vanessa are going to leave us, they may as well do it with the same record of 3-1 each now.
Yeah, very cool that they have that symmetry as they exit the Schmoedown universe. I think that was, like Andrew said, like a super poetic ending. I think I speak for everyone here that we're going to miss Late to the Party in the FCL, in the movie trivia Schmoedown universe. Hopefully they will be back soon because we love watching them. And here's where I will say something about future FCL competitors. As long as PLD is the head question writer for the FCL, you should be studying Ed Harris. You could say, oh, that's a very hard 5-point question. But if you're an FCL competitor, you should have Ed Harris locked down hard. So I don't, in Robert's case, like I said, he's, the foot is off the gas. They're just having a fun game. It doesn't really matter. He's not going to rack his brain to figure out like some forgotten Joaquin Phoenix movie and that Enemy at the Gates. Like, who cares? But at the same time, to everybody else watching this, you gotta know Ed Harris. But yeah, I love this match. I also loved the Sam Levine stinger. This is just another example of the FCL crushing it with storytelling, right? Like, the storytelling in the FCL this season has been a huge highlight. I do think that, obviously some plans changed along the way, and some storytelling decisions were made on the fly when certain things happened that were unexpected. Like, I don't know, like the champion leaving the league right after he wins the belt. But I think they rolled with the punches always, and they really told great stories. And to have this little wrap up with the whole Robert's obsession with Sam Levine and getting back on the suspects, and then the conclusion of that story was just so funny. I was laughing out loud at it. Just another example of the FCL just like doing a fantastic job with wrapping up storylines and kind of moving on to the next thing. So really, really great match. Really sad to see late to the party leave, but really grateful that we got to watch them compete. So.
And I suppose there's a lovely little touch in the match as well. I don't know if you noticed when Robert is taking a drink, it's the usual suspects move, but he's a big X cut through it as well. So he's literally cut his ties with Levine. But I suppose, Ryan, you know, like we have a special fondness here at This Week in the FCL for Robert and Vanessa, because they were the first people that you interviewed as part of our Spotlight series. And that really kind of helped us to kind of grow as a show and as a channel. Like, please take the floor.
Yeah. First of all, that Ed Harris question's a 10-pointer, okay? I would not have been. I'm a smart guy. I'm a smart guy in this business. But there's no way that I'm able to pull 2 movies out of my hat with Ed Harris in 2000, 2001. Who cares? Who cares? But anyway, listen, semantics aside, it was a great match. It was a great retirement match. And to be one of the first reactors, first people to, when the FCL was first born, to start interviewing the superstars of the sport, because it is a sport, people. This is sport and entertainment. Get it straight. It's sport and entertainment. So to have those two in our studio, virtually, of course, and to talk, because I've seen them on the Schmoedown, but I don't know really who they are. All I know is the stuff they've done in the MTS. I don't really know. So to have an opportunity to sit down with them and ask them questions about, like, what was it like for you growing up? What were some of your favorite films or TV series? Like, what kind of stuff did you do leading up to the creation of your YouTube channel, respectively, with Late to the Party? And to hear all those stories, it's like, man, I wish we would have grown up in the same neighborhood, son. That same cul-de-sac in suburbia, because we would have been the best of friends. I can guarantee you that, brother. And also, Robert, full disclosure, thank you. Not many people do this anymore, but I do it. Dropping Seinfeld knowledge at the end of your match, like when you said that you finished your records with 3-1. It's like Jerry on Seinfeld, when he gets, you know who you are? Even Steve. Love the Seinfeld quotage, Robert. Love it to pieces. So keep doing that, man. Keep doing that in your videos, because your friendship points are going way high right now. Keep it up, pal. But all kidding aside, I want to take this opportunity. We've said it before, but I'm going to say it again on behalf of all of us in this studio and outside of that studio. Thank you to Late to the Party for every single thing that you've done for this community in terms of going to the matches, being a part of the MTS, being a part of the FCL, getting it off the ground, giving more attention, more eyeballs, if you will, to the best sport entertainment going today is movie trivia. It is the best thing in the world. And you two individuals are two of the many reasons of why this thing is succeeding the way it is. So don't stop what you're doing. Best of luck with your YouTube channel and everything, all the plans that you have moving forward into 2022, because it'll be here before you know it, kids. Look at your calendars. Just thank you. You've all been a blessing, and I look forward to seeing what you guys are going to be doing on your channel. I hope to see you guys back in here in our studio, because, hey, you all right. You're always welcome here, LTTP, for life. So thank you, Robert and Vanessa. Great times, great matches, great records, and thank you for including Seinfeld knowledge and Captain Ron knowledge, Robert, because those are two things that don't get enough credit sometimes on the internet, especially Captain Ron. That film deserves so much more love than what it's getting. So thank you, Robert. Now I have a new shirt that I can add to my wardrobe, because you tweeted at me a few weeks ago where I could find that shirt you were wearing in one of your videos. So thank you, Robert. Thank you, Vanessa, because you're both awesome tackler. And do me one favor, though. Never apologize for being awesome. Back to you at the desk.
I really can't say anything more than that. So the only other thanks I have to give is to our wonderful guest, Mr. Nick Harley. Thank you so much for your time breaking down these last 2 matches. Please do tell everybody where you can find you on the internet and anything that you're working on, of course.
Yeah, of course. You can follow me at Mick_Marley on Twitter. You can find my work at Den of Geek, where I'm currently recapping the new season of Succession. It has been fantastic so far. And I'll also be doing weekly reviews of the Dexter revival. So check out that on Den of Geek.
Awesome. Thank you once again, Nick, for not only tonight, but everything that you've done to help us grow throughout the season as well. We really do appreciate it. And listen, we've one match left, the singles title fight between ZaFlertinFlouse and Travis Fishburn. And listen, let's bring CB back in and let's get into this final match of FCL Warfare.
Yes.
Thank you, Nick. Amazing to have you.
And here we are, the main event of FCL Warfare, our singles title match between ZaFlertinFlouse and Travis Fishburn, 1-0 facing 4-0. And I think, guys, it's fair to say for a match of this stature, you know, the main event of FCL Warfare, I feel it would be wrong if it was just the four of us on screen breaking this down. So, El, why don't you clear that throat one last time and introduce our special guest for this segment?
All right, Keith, I would be happy with just me here as always, but of course we got something special for you fans. Let's go ahead and bring in our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, now introducing, making his way onto This Week in the FCL, he is your reigning, undisputed, undefeated trivia champion of the world, Travis, the Travesty Fishburn.
Hey,
there he is.
Thank you. Pretty surreal to hear that.
Well, I mean, you may get used to it now for the next while, but I think, listen, without further ado, let's break into this title fight between yourself and the Flouse. I suppose, Travis, got to kick off with yourself. You came into this as the challenger. All the pressure was on you to get this done. It almost felt like 95% everybody expected you to get this done. And so, kind of moving into round one, when you went 1-0 up on them on that first question in Famous Actors and Actresses, which actor features in The Foreigner, The World's End, and Tomorrow Never Dies, Pierce Brosnan being the correct answer, did the nerves settle, or were you already relaxed coming into this?
I mean, a little bit of A and B. I go into every match expecting like the very best from, you know, whoever I'm going up against, and I always feel pressured to play a perfect game. And that's what I want to do. So
listen, let's get through the rest of round one here. Obviously, you go 1-0 up on this first question, the Pierce Brosnan Flouse with no answer. You both get the 1980s question, and the second one here, what actor starred in two films in 88, Rain Man and Cocktail, Tom Cruise being the correct answer here. Franchises is a miss for the Flouse. Magnum Force, the Enforcer, and Sudden Impact are all entries into what franchise? The Dirty Harry franchise. Question 4, fantasy sci-fi. This 2016 remake follows the adventures of a creature named Elliot and includes Bryce Dallas Howard, Carl Urban, and Robert Redford. Pete's Dragon being the correct answer here. E.T., the guess wagered by the Flouse. Question 5 here in dramas. Who starred as Chief Willoughby in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri? Woody Harrelson being the correct answer here. Flouse with no answer. Question 6 in directors. Who directed Denzel, John Goodman in Don Cheadle in 2012's Flight? Robert Zemeckis. Again, Flouse with a goose egg here. And also following up, both of you unfortunately miss question 7 here in action adventure. Nick Nolte is the Secret Service agent, Mike Banning's father, in what 2019 action sequel Angel Has Fallen being the correct answer here. And then you both round out the last question in horror. Dream Warriors is the subtitle to the third film in what horror franchise? Nightmare on Elm Street being the correct answer here. 7-2 up. If we kind of look at the averages as we kind of had on screen there a few minutes ago, Flouse's previous match, he had gotten 7, so he's down over 5 straight away. Travis, technically you are down on your average of 7.8, only coming in with a miserable 7, but ultimately, you know, Ryan, I guess big sports events, World Series, Heineken Cup rugby finals, title matches, you want to make strong starts here, and that's what Travis does here in round 1.
Absolutely. Yeah, you may have missed one here or there, but either way, you still got the higher score going into round 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first miss in round 1 that wasn't a bonus question since my first match. So
don't worry, I've got a wrap up of all your stats at the end of this, Travis, and they do make for pretty impressive reading. But I guess, CB, on the other side, Flouse doesn't do what's needed here in terms of like putting up a decent score in round 1 and getting settled into things.
No, he doesn't. Bear in mind, he was coming in the champion. Yes, we probably expect it to go the way it did in this first round, but actually, you know what? Flouse has actually won a match before. He did quite well previously, so you never really know what you're going to get with him, but it was an awful start, wasn't it? There's nothing more you can say about it for trying to defend your title. 2 points round one. It's rough.
Not where you want to be. And I suppose, Travis, as those misses are kind of going through with the flouse, are you taking any sort of notice of this, or are you just kind of staying in the moment and staying where you need to be?
Just staying in the moment. I think, I mean, in every match, you're just kind of always playing against yourself, and you're trying to play the best that you can do. So to me, I mean, this is just, no matter who I was facing, and I know everyone, just kind of like made it into a squash match, what it kind of like ended up being statistically, but I think you have to just kind of prove yourself in those moments. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to do just that. And so no matter how my opponent was playing, it's, I feel mentally playing against myself, wanting to play my best game.
And I suppose, Andrew, there's two things here. First off, your good friend, Mr. Furtado, on the desk. What a treat this was for the title fight. But essentially, the big thing is it's something that you've harped on all season, and it's this 5-point gap. And straight away after round one, it's in effect.
That is right. From a strategic standpoint, Keith, not much to say about somebody coming out with a 5-point lead in the first round, except what Travis already did, showing some real awareness of the game, Travis, I think, by knowing that in the end, you can only beat yourself in a situation like this. You can let yourself miss a question. You can let yourself not take the match seriously enough. At that point, it's all about maintaining that lead, holding, and going all the way through so you can make sure that you're still in a strong position and ready to answer any question that's thrown at you at any moment as you move into the end of the matchup. It's never over until you hear that great announcement at the end, which Travis ultimately will in this one. But as far as first rounds go, not a lot to say about the performance of the Flouse here, disappointingly. However, as you did mention, kudos to Andrew Furtado for once again classing up the joint.
And I suppose, Travis, that was kind of a nice addition, shall we say, even if he is essentially trying to manage the Flouse in match.
Yeah. No, I was made aware that was going to happen, and I was asked, like, is that going to be okay? Is that going to distract you? And I'm like, I don't think it's going to distract me from answering questions as much as I'll have to make sure I don't break character like Jimmy Fallon on SNL. But yeah, he did great, I think, keeping, the color commentary going and stuff like I didn't even really pay attention to or hear until we watched the match live when it happened. I'm like, oh, I was not paying attention to anything Furtado was saying.
Well, I suppose, listen, taking averages and all into account, you've 5 points up here and you can really dictate the game from here. So listen, let's move into round two. Our wheel round comes up. 12 categories again, spinners and opponents on, Eddie Murphy, rom-coms, Pixar, John Carpenter, Ed Harris, Tarantino, 2000s, musicians in film, sports, and Julia Roberts. You decide, again, like you've done all season, you want to go first, you want to put on scoreboard pressure here, and on your first spin, you get Tarantino, which I believe is the second time this season that you've spun it, so it's clearly a category that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I felt comfortable with, and I did even more studying and deeper studying than I did the last time. Because I knew I had to check down a multiple choice for a character name. So this time I'm like, I've got all the characters' names memorized. I've done other things to make sure I'm aware of every other thing that you can do surrounding studying a movie. And then we go into the match and I'm like, no, it does not, there's no substitute for actually having recently watched them.
So listen, let's break down your batch of four here. You know that Pam Grier is the titular character in 97's Jackie Brown. And then on the next three, you go down to multiple choice. You play it safe, but because of that 5 point gap, you've got that buffer. You're dictating the terms here, as I say. So you're able to do this with pretty much ease. Now, question two, what is the name of the group of assassins that the bride swears revenge on in the Kill Bill films? You go down to multiple choice, the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad being the answer. Question three, in Pulp Fiction, when me and Vincent are ordering at the restaurant, what is Vincent's surprise that costs $5? Again, you go down to multiple choice, milkshake. And then in The Hateful Eight, Sam Jackson's character has a forged letter from what US president? Multiple choice again, Abraham Lincoln. You came into round two with a career average of 7.3, having never missed a round two question. You are down 2 points, but again, to the point, you're playing in the moment. You're playing ahead of what's in front of you. And I think averages, to be fair, doesn't matter when you're extending your lead in such a fashion, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and the Oh, I was kicking myself for that third question about the milkshake, because as the question is being asked, I'm like, oh, specific item in a movie I've not watched in almost 20 years. I'm probably going to check down a multiple choice. And then I don't take my time. I'm not playing the game properly. And so as like right before the options are given, I'm like mentally creating the scene. I'm like, it's a milkshake. I should have waited a few extra seconds.
So listen, we move on to Flouse's spin on the first one. He gets 2000s and decides he wants to go again, and he's saddled with 2000s on the second spin again, and goes 4 of 8 in this. He knows that Joaquin Phoenix's Commodore character is in Gladiator. Goes down to multiple choice in this second question. Jim Carrey was in 2 films in 2000. Me, Myself, and Irene, and what other? Goes down to multiple choice. Says Bruce Almighty. That's incorrect. And Travis, you steal, knowing that it's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. In the third question, Leo DiCaprio, Jennifer Connelly, and Jaimin Hansu star in What 06 Thriller, directed by Edward Zick. It goes down to multiple choice. Blood Diamond being the correct answer gets a point in the bank. And then in the fourth question, what is the subtitle of the second Narnia film? Again, goes down to multiple choice. Knows that it's Prince Caspian. It's 13-6. And Andrew, to be fair to Flouse, he's using repeats. He's checking down. He's trying to get back into this. So you can't fault the effort.
Absolutely not. And lest we forget, ZaFlertinFlouse was on his whirlwind mega hit multi-platinum tour in the 2000s. Not as much time to watch movies, of course. He's out there doing what he can, and I do like the effort he's making in order to stay alive, to cut down those points, to get them where he can, and play back against Travis. Of course, at this point, from a strategic standpoint, I'm going to step back and I'm going to say it's a lost cause. I don't think there really is any coming back, especially with the kind of deficit being built up over the first 2 rounds. But got to give some love to the strategic play and, of course, make some excuses for a champion who I enjoy.
And I suppose, Ryan, it's interesting that when we look at both title matches, it's the champions that are struggling in round 1 and round 2, and it's the challengers that are the ones looking like the champions at this stage.
Yeah, honestly, it's almost, it's like night and day. It's like, wait a minute, shouldn't the champ be doing slightly better than its challenger? But then again, you know, on any given day, it depends on the questions, depends on the category. Some days you know them, some days you don't. It's just depend. You know, some competitors have good days, some competitors have what we know as off days. So yeah, it happens. But hey, you know, rounds 3, 4, and 5 can, you know, make or break you in a way when it comes to playing in a championship match.
And I suppose, CB, to finish out round 2, that's a tough Jim Carrey question, I think, because it's essentially sneaking in a movie release dates question as well as kind of a whole career question.
Absolutely, it is a difficult question. So it's not actually much more I want to say about that, but yeah, it is. I do find it very, like, you know, it's tricky. Everyone hates movie release dates except for Alex, apparently, who we spoke about earlier in the show. Exactly. Yeah, it was a tricky question, like you said. I haven't got much more to say about it, really. I mean, this second round's kind of gone as I expected, really. I mean, the Flouse, obviously, there's some improvement there from his first round, at least getting half the questions, getting half the points available to him. So, yeah, let's just move on into the third round.
Yeah. To point out something with that question, it's something with the question writing, I think, that has like gone along with this season, where they're taking out some more context clues, because similar questions have been asked. I think an Adam Sandler question was asked, but they give you like, oh, he stars alongside Damon Wayans. Gives you the answer. It's but like this time, they don't give you anything. Like they could have said directed by Ron Howard. They could have thrown out anything to, you know, give a little bit more of a context clue. That was not present. I also noticed in Maxwell's 3-pointer, the question could have been written like they often do with MCU actors. They could have thrown in like what MCU actor, but they did not. Same thing with the 5-point Sebastian Stan and Ed Harris last week. It's like taking away more of those context clues for you to grab onto.
So listen, let's move into our betting round 3. We spin the wheel again, and you know, for the third time this season, Travis, you're getting Tarantino. You decide to bet 2. Flouse decides to bet 3. Question being, what Tony Scott directed film was directed by Tarantino. The both answer True Romance, and Flouse brings down the gap. It's 15-9 after this. And I suppose, Andrew, to a point that we made in the Star Wars match, Flouse is behind. He's had to go for broke. He's betting big, and it's the correct strategic decision to do.
Yeah, it's always going to end up being that way, Keith. It's a shame if you are behind that you find yourself in that situation, but it's also, I would imagine, as a competitor, kind of freeing. If you're down by 6 points, you know you have to go for the 3. There's no question. There's no reason not to. What's the worst you're going to do? Put yourself down more points? You're already in pretty massive hole, and you've only got a couple rounds left to make it up, that being the speed round. And in most matches, if you're behind after 3 rounds, you're certainly not expecting yourself to be number 1 in the speed round. And of course, the championship round, always going to be the same, never going to change, but you need to get yourself within range. We've talked about that gap, the 5 points, the 6 points, where those important lines are when you're in the middle of a matchup. And if you fall behind by 10, well, there is no 5th round. So yes, I agree with you 100%. Flouse has to make this move. It's the only thing he can possibly do. Really, from a strategic standpoint, I'm far more interested in Travis's choice. Do you bet small and stay safe? Do you bet large and really go for it? Try to extend that gap. I tend towards the safe pick, and obviously you're going to tell us what Travis did, but this is a situation in which I don't think there's any choice. Never really is. If you find yourself behind by, I'd say in a speed round, 5 points or more, and you don't go for 3, you have made a mistake, in my opinion.
And I suppose, Travis, you bet conservatively on the 2. Is that because you had that 7-point lead going into the speed round, or was just kind of, if I get it wrong, I'm still ahead by 5-4 probably?
Yeah, it's a multitude of factors. It's knowing he could bet 3 and I could bet 2 and miss, and he could get it right and I'd still be ahead. Also, I just played not my best round 2 in that same category, so I'm feeling a little trepidatious.
And I suppose also, so we're 15-9, we're 6 points up. At this stage, are you starting to do maths in your head of when the knockout come in, or is it literally just head down, and we just need to keep going question by question at this stage?
Yeah, I'm really not thinking about that at all. By the time it happens, and it happens in a weird way in the digital age, if it happens in round 4, it was surprising.
So listen, let's get into round 4, what ultimately turns out to be the last round of this title fight. We'll break it down question by question. Who won an Oscar for her performance in Walk the Line? Reese Witherspoon. Flouse passes, you get that correct. Question 2, how many Halloween movies did Rob Zombie direct? 2, you both get that correct. Question 3, what year was Clueless released? 1995. Flouse decides to pass. Travis, you get this correct. You pass on the 4th question, which Flouse actually gets, which is who featured in the films The Rock, Just Cause, and The Presidio? Have I said that correctly?
Yeah.
Sean Connery being the answer here. Question 5 is a pass by the Flouse, who directed Darkman and Spider-Man, Sam Raimi. Then you both get 6 and 7 correct. That John Williams provides the score for E.T. and that Jim Carrey plays the titular role of Ace Ventura. You both pass on question 8, being who is the Queen of Genovia in The Princess Diaries, Julie Andrews being the answer there. And then it's question 9 that's ultimately the factor here in the way back. What sport does Ben Affleck coach? Basketball being the correct answer. You get that correct. Flouse says football, and he doesn't get to this 10th question. You do, though. Who portrays the White Queen in 2010's Alice in Wonderland? Anne Hathaway. And that's ultimately the question that leads with Brad saying, and your winner, and the new FCL singles champion of the world. And ultimately, Travis, what is the feelings going through your mind as those words are being said?
Relief, surprise, because I was not told, you're not told when you win in a normal match in round 3 or 5. So I come back from the other StreamYards because that's how they do it, and it's just announced. I'm like, oh, okay. I think Brennen had a similar reaction to oh, it's over.
I suppose, CB, listen, we have to congratulate the man on screen. We have a new champion, 5-0. He's gone through some underrated players in the likes of Fred Klein and Furtado, right through to some dangerous, streaky players like Schmo. It's a well-deserving season crowned by being our new champion.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's one that, I've been calling out, ever since Travis got that 4-0. I was like, there's no way it shouldn't be Travis going for that belt. So I was obviously very delighted when, after a little switcheroo with Brad, that it was obviously the title shot was given to Travis, and he's done very well. And there's not much else you can say about that. It's just a fantastic debut season.
Well, there's a few things we could say, and it's probably the updated stats of our new champion. And Ryan, 38 out of 40 in round 1, 20 out of 20 in round 2 at an average of just short of 7. didn't miss a betting question in round 3, didn't drop anything in round 4, speed round, and has only been asked 6 questions in round 3, answered them all. I think it's probably fair to say this guy is the premier FCL singles competitor.
Gee willikers, when you put it like that, those are Goldberg WCW day numbers right there. Jeez, man, undefeated, undisputed, master of the spear and the jackhammer, So yeah, no, seriously, those are great stats, great numbers, and at the end of the day, the right person won the match. Justice was served. Respect, honor, and discipline were brought back to the FCL. Thank God. Thank Travis, because man, I cannot live another second, another moment with that Flouse Stingy Bobber, whoever that guy is. So, listen, Travis, you bring in Grand Theft Auto Vice City outfit, but your character work is great. Your promo work is killing it. Every time I see your promo, you're dropping all these liners. I'm like, yes, that's good for business. And then you walk out the world champion. I'm thinking, yeah, FCL is doing just fine. And you know what, Travis? You all right. Congratulations, champ. You earned it big time. Flouse, get out of here. Do something better with your life because the FCL is not where you belong, son. But Travis, you're welcome here anytime, brother.
Thank you. No, coming into it, that's what I wanted to bring. I knew I had good base knowledge that I had to do some more studying for, but I knew I wanted to really bring character, and I wanted to bring good promos, and I wanted to just be like well-rounded in all areas to bring this thing where it is.
And I suppose, Andrew, today is Travis's day ultimately. But to be fair to Flouse, he's only a basketball away from bringing this to the 5th round, and he has to be credited for all the fun and laughs that he's brought to this season ultimately.
I mean, I've obviously been a big fan of the Flouse since long before the FCL, since I got to see that concert in Dusseldorf in 2006. I mean, it's just life-changing, and I highly recommend everybody check it out. But the Flouse is on his way out, and hey, this is not a surprise to any of us. Let's be honest. You asked for my prediction last week, and what did I say? I said all sorts of nice things about the Flouse, and then I said Travis is winning the whole damn thing. I knew it. You knew it. But, hey, he looked good doing it. And now that we have a new champ, a deserving champ, a champ with stats, that looks so good, like a brick wall for his opponents to run into, somebody who's got the promo game. He's got the look. Hell, he looks like he stepped out of a Quentin Tarantino movie in that print, and with that stash, he's a great champion, very representative. It's a shame he had to take out the Flouse, who I hope we'll still see some more of in the future. That being said, Travis, there's one very important question to ask because you've been listening to this show. You've heard all of us talk. And if you know one thing about the Elk, it's that he likes to kiss up to the people who are in positions of power. So where do I send the gift basket, Travis?
Oh, I mean, as you see from my promos, I'm constantly all over the place. So it's on a week-by-week basis.
Oh. It's a shame. I'll have to hire an assistant to chase you around the country just to drop off all the presents, Travis. But the greatest present of all had to be popping back in that nice surprise gift for you when Brad Gilmore said those magical words in that moment, Travis. I want to hear it beyond the game. No strategy, none of that. The emotion of it all. How did it feel to take down that title? You've worked hard. You've done 4 matches, and now you are on top of the mountain.
Oh, it felt, absolutely great and surreal. Just considering I was not part of the draft last year. I was not part of the initial round of competitors that were announced. Just coming in from it, knowing I had some major FOMO about not being a part of it, and sending in a submission of an audition and just going as far as I did. It's just kind of crazy, considering just 6 months ago.
Exactly. Sorry, Andrew.
No, I was just going to say it is sad to see Flouse go, but that to me is exactly what sums up the FCL as a competitor who comes in, you put your head down, you do your best, and you play, let's just say it the way it is, lights out like Travis did, and become a very deserving champion. Once again, Travis, just congratulations, and I'm so pleased for you. Although next season, I'm not going to go easy on you. I might say some mean things about your matches there.
And I suppose, Travis, you can enjoy this now, but there's a little someone called Alex Marzoña waiting in the wings for you at some stage during season 2. So having seen what he put up on Tuesday, what's your thoughts on that challenge coming ahead of you?
No, Alex really impressed me. I was getting, my wife can attest to this. I was actually getting very excited watching that match, watching them both play, because I'm like, I don't know. I want, I want to finally go to a 5-pointer again. And so I would love to go into that sudden death or any such thing. So I'm very excited to play Alex, and he's, a very nice person from everything I can see.
And I suppose, listen, the event ends in a kind of an abrupt way with James Shimo cutting off the power in Flouse's interview. But we actually got a message in from another member of the Sinister Syndicate who had a couple of things that he wanted to say to a couple of us on screen, and a little message for you, Travis. So, CB, if you want to load that up here.
What's up this week in the FCL? I wanted to send over this little video because due to scheduling, I was not able to be a guest on your show this week. Right off the bat, I just want to congratulate you for the incredible job you all have done all season long. Chris, Keith, maybe not Andrew, but the FCL ecosystem only thrives as much as it does because of the after shows and the fans like yourself. I am incredibly grateful that you guys are a part of this community, and I look forward to seeing what you have in store for us in season 2. Listen, this season did not end as I had planned. I lost my number 1 contender match. It wasn't my day. I missed questions I should have gotten. I got too far in my own head. But you know what? We move on. I'm still incredibly proud of the work I did all season, and I wish Marzoña success in beating that mustachioed rube and getting the belt next season. As for me in next season, chaos and bloodshed are the name of the game. Myself and my sinister compatriots are going to wreak havoc across the board. I will be seeking vengeance against the entire league, and I fully intend to hold not only the singles, but the team's belt before the season is over. Doubt me at your own peril, because I'm Mad Max, and I am exceptionally mad right now. Bye.
Wow.
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 Oh,
Okay. All right. Yeah, big talk. We've heard that before. Words are just words. Actions speak louder than words. So, Max, good luck backing that up in the ring, buddy. You're only as good as your last match, so better get to the studying. But Travis, you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about this kid. You'll be fine.
no. Max is one of the greatest, trash talkers and hype men for the league. It's great. And he's an awesome person too. Kayfabe put aside. So
Yeah.
It's nice to have the
Not
message
mentioning
from
me in that video. Yeah, that was nice, Max. Thanks.
Yeah, I think you must have upset him even more than
you
Andrew.
missed a few people in that video there, Max. I may not be here all 52 weeks of the year like some people are, but when I am here, I do tend to make an impact, whether it's in this studio or in that ring in the FCL, which is where I'm going to be next season. So watch out, Max.
Elk, you were cringing along there a little bit. What were you expecting? You weren't expecting that.
Listen, it's been a long season. We've had some discussions, a little back and forth, and I've said some things about Maxwell Haddad that maybe weren't the nicest things to say. Maybe I was a little bit harsh. Maybe I was a little bit mean. And what did I say to Max over and over again? I just don't want you to be so damn nice anymore. Start treating people like your opponents. Start treating people like your enemies, and start choosing violence, choosing chaos, choosing all those wonderful things that make the show so fantastic for all of us out here to watch. I'm just so happy, Max, that you finally listened to a wise man and jumped feet first into the Sinister Syndicate. I am happy that you and I, hey, you may not like me now, but we can be friends, Max. You can just reach on out to me and we can start to repair this relationship between us, because I am all in on the new Sinister, Max. And Travis Fishburn is your target? Well, let me say something, because I'm going to be honest with you. This is a man with a record like no other. This is a man who's gone tearing through the FCL. If you want to face it, Max, you got to stay mean, you got to stay hard, and you've got to study your butt off. But Travis Fishburn, what you've got to do if Max does come for you next season, you got to keep that same mindset you already talked about. One question at a time. Every match is a new match, and never take anyone for granted, because if there was someone in the league not to do that with, it's Maxwell Haddad, who may just end up with some of those titles he's looking for. He's in the Sinister Syndicate, strong talent for a tag team to set up. He's definitely shown what he's got in the matches out there. And Max, putting it all aside, all of the things we've said back and forth, when I've said bad things, when I've said nice things, when I've been your friend, been your enemy, let's put all that aside. And let me just say to you what I'll say to every one of the competitors. Thank you, Maxwell Haddad, for competing in the FCL. Thank you for being a great man on the promos in those matchups. Thank you for being a representative for the league. And next season, buddy, you're going to come back in, and I know you're going to be ready. So let's do it, Max. Impress me. FCL Season 2. Bring it on.
I think, gents, with that, let's not only close the book on FCL Warfare, but this entire first season. It's been an absolute pleasure every week breaking it down with each and every one of you. Having amazing guests on that we had today, Ross, we had yourself, Travis, we had Nick Harley, and everybody through the year. So, for one last time, see us out, buddy.
All right. Well, I don't know if I did you justice on the intro, Travis, but I will say it one more time. He is your undefeated, undisputed FCL champion of the world. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Travis Fishburn. Always a pleasure to have you here. And why don't you go ahead and kick us off and tell everybody online where they can find you?
Oh, you can find me Travis Fishburn on Twitter, on Instagram. And that's pretty much about it right now. I do a podcast called Who Watches. It's been a few months. We took a break, and it's, life has been hectic, so we've not gotten back to that for a little while. So if, episodes are going up, I'd let you know. But as of right now, that's where you can find me.
Well, you've obviously got a lot to deal with, Travis. You got that title to polish up in the offseason. You've got some movies to watch, I am sure. But we are, I speak for everybody here. They can correct me if I'm wrong. We would just like to say to you, as we've said to all of the competitors, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a wonderful part of this community and always giving us a little bit of time to talk. You are a delight to have on the show. And other delights to have on the show, my co-host, I'm real quick going to go ahead and see if I can't pull something up here, because I don't think in this case, hey, I talk a lot. I don't think I have the right words to speak. Instead, I'll just draw from a poet that I read recently. To Brad Gilmore and team, I just wanted to message you with a massive congratulations on the debut season. It's been a fantastic ride that has not only entertained, but also led to me finding some great colleagues, which have also become great friends in my This Week in the FCL crew and also within the wider community. We're all very much looking forward to season 2. And if my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, Chris, you want to take us out on this one? What's the next part?
Oh, I can't remember now. You've just thrown me completely off.
You're going to see some serious shit is what you're going to see. That's right. I swore on the air.
Thanks
Beautiful
that,
words from Mr. Chris Barnes, obviously getting a lot of traction with some of the FCL competitors, but I could not have said it better. And that's why I'll throw it over to you now, our super producer, the man who started it all, Chris Barnes. A round of applause to you, and tell everybody where they can check you out.
You can, of course, check me out on Twitter and Instagram at chrisbarnes_UK. And going forward on this very channel, there'll be a new show coming, CB Off the Fence, because I'm going to step off that fence a little bit. And I'm going to be talking, playing some games, talking movies, TV, whatever I really want to talk about, FCL and the Schmoedown, of course. And that's pretty much it. Looking forward to next season.
All right. And finally, of course, we have our hype master, the man with 1,000 words and 1,000 opinions. He is fantastic. He is wonderful. And I quote, Ryan Permison is joining us on This Week in the FCL to give you, probably something very special, something that I can't give you, that Keith can't give you. Ryan, whenever you're able to join us, it's a thrill. And I'm sorry that we're going to have to take such a long break, although real quick aside, we're probably going to have some special stuff coming up for you folks. Maybe a few things in the works. We will see. Ryan, for the last time this year, why don't you take us on out and say where everyone can find you online?
Boy, he's good, isn't he? He's too good, this guy, Andrew. You
He's
may want to keep him around for a little while. But anywho, listen, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Check me out on all forms of social media. Simply add it's Nerd Culture. New videos being posted on our channel each and every week. I do a show called And I Quote, where I interview content creators of all shapes and sizes live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So check that out on our Facebook page and all that jazz. And yeah, I'll be back here for season 2. I may be here in the studio, or you may see me in the ring. Where's the belt, Brad? Where's the belt? Because I'm coming for it.
All right, and nobody sells it like Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Looking forward to a lot more good times with you. And we are going to throw it over to my one final co-host. And Keith, I bet you think I'm going to say something real mean. No, what I'm going to say, Keith, is you've been a delight this season with your numbers, putting in a lot of work and a lot of knowledge. I know there's FCL competitors out there who rely on you for actual statistics, for training help. There are people who are listening to your opinions, and the reason why as much as I sometimes don't like you, Keith, is because you really are just that good at this. Why don't you go ahead and take this moment, revel in that, revel in the delight and the joy of being complimented by the elk. It will not happen again soon. As we throw it over to you, why don't you tell everybody where you are online?
Well, CB, first, can you clip that last sort of 30 seconds, 1 minute there of the elk? I want that just on my phone the whole time as a little pick-me-up every day. But listen, genuinely, it's been an absolute pleasure, gents, all season, breaking this down. 6 months ago, we didn't know each other, and now look at us, we're laughing, we're joking. We're really, I'd like to think, a stable of this community, and it's been amazing to kind of build this alongside each and every one of you. But ultimately, I am on Twitter and Instagram at KakelDuff89, checking out the Open Pair Network on YouTube and podcast form. Thank you.
And of course, folks, I am Andrew. You can call me the Elk. You can call me Drew. You can call me Andrew. Call me whatever the heck you want. And you can check me out on Twitter at KelkAndrew. I don't do much on there. Mostly it's just this show. But folks, this show has been a true pleasure. And I will throw in a few of my own words here. We have made some good friends. We have had a whole lot of fun. And it truly has been first class. What a great season. What an amazing event to take us out on Warfare. And what a deserving new set of winners, including our wonderful champion one last time, Travis, the Travesty Fishburn, maybe the most feared man in the FCL. Thank you so much for being here. And fans, the same goes for you as well. Thank you all season long for joining us as we broke it down. We gave some opinions, we had a few laughs, and we will continue to deliver some great content to you in the upcoming weeks as well. We have some big plans coming for season 2, potentially, of This Week in the FCL. For the last time this season from the regular show, I'm going to go ahead and sign us on off. This has been This Week in the FCL, and all of you watching are the true first class. Thank you. Have a great day.